Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you're watching second part of What If Naruto was sent back in time by Kyuubi, but with a cost. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Because he knows how everyone treats him and he does not want them to hate you for being with him any more than he has to. Ip 3 said in Sakura's head. Jiraiya simply shook his head because he knew it was a lie and was thinking, stupid idiot villagers. I would like to introduce them to a Rasengan for treating the boy like this. When they arrived at the gates, Naruto was sitting outside against a tree with a black eye and a busted lip. Sakura asked, "What happened?" Naruto simply smiled and said, "I was so excited about the mission I did not look where I was going. We can't kill the client no matter what. We took an oath to fulfill our mission any way possible. Let's go." Naruto jumped in front of him and held Sakura and Jiraiya at bay as Tazana drank more sake and said, "And you supposed to protect me?" He then took the lead and headed to Wave Country. Sakura positioned herself directly behind Jiraiya on the left and Tazana on the right. They saw the puddle with the demon brothers 3 hours later, and Naruto created a Rasengan behind his back as they got closer. He then feigned slipping, which pushed the Rasengan into the puddle and knocked out the two demon brothers. After explaining Gato and the Wave Country to them, they tied up the two brothers and summoned Abnu to come get them. Naruto looked at Tazana and said, "I guess the old saying about being lucky then skilled is true. I was trying a new technique I am trying to learn, but the big question is why are ninja after you? Sakura and I have never left the village before and our sensei Thier is so famous that no one is crazy enough to attack him unless they have an entire army, so that leaves you." After that was resolved, they eventually arrived at the shore of Wave Country, and as soon as they reached the opposite shore, they set up camp for lunch. Jiraiya then stated, "We will continue this mission even though it is now an A-rank mission. When your country gets back on its feet you will have to pay the difference in pay plus a small fee for not giving us important information." After leaving the group, Naruto called forth two foxes, a 5-foot-tall blue fox and a red 4-foot fox. The blue fox asked, "What can we do for you, Lord Naruto?" Naruto replied, "I want you to go into the woods and you will find a house suspended in the trees by cables. When you find it, find a short man who wears a suit and walks with a cane named Gato. Capture him and bring him to my location alive as fast as possible. I know you may have to hurt him, but I need him alive for my plan to work. I want it done as stealthy as possible. Until you get to my location I will probably be in a battle, but do not get involved in the fight. Now go and hurry." With that, the two foxes fled quickly of their quarry. Naruto returned to the group and joined them for lunch. Jiraiya and Sakura gave him suspicious looks, but he simply shook his head as if nothing were wrong. They make a deal and set up camp after an hour or so, destroying any evidence of their presence and moving on with their journey. Naruto smelled Zabuza after they had been traveling for roughly 2 hours. When Zabuza's sword flew toward the group and struck a tree that Zabuza was standing on, Naruto threw a kunai and startled the rabbit once more. "Down!" was screamed simultaneously by all three ninjas as it got closer to them. Tazana was pulled down by Sakura with his sword drawn and the seal for the Gemini Battle Link Jutsu performed. Naruto remarked, "Zabuza, Demon of the Mist. I must say it is quite a surprise to meet someone of your reputation. Sakura, I will fight him and stall until my surprise package gets here. Guard Tazana and help the pervert. Remember Haku is around here somewhere and his ice mirrors are deadly." Naruto said via the link, "Okay Naruto, be careful. What package? You never said anything about a package," said Sakura. After giving her a brief glance, Naruto turned to face Zabuza, who had just landed in front of the group. Naruto created 2 spheres out of 50 shadow clones. One centered on Tazana, and another on him and Zabuza. As their swords clashed, Naruto remarked, "So Zabuza, I guess you must be tired of running from Hunter Nin if you would work for a man like Gato." The entire area was covered in mist as Zabuza attempted to overpower him by saying, "You don't know what you're talking about, kid." Zabuza also made some hand signals and said, "Water style. Hidden mist jutsu." Sakura recalled how she used hand signals and the phrase, "wind style. Tornado slice jutsu," to counter Natsume's attack. This eliminated all of the mist and also sucked up a water clone that Zabuza had just made, destroying it. "Looks like you need help to beat me. No matter, when I kill you she will be next." Zabuza laughed and said, "I thought your little friend over there was going to watch." He then leapt out onto the lake next to where they had been fighting. With a sly smile, Naruto dashed into the lake, where he slipped 10 feet below the surface and formed another cage Bunshin. He ordered Bunshin, the cage, to emerge from the water and charge Zabuza. When the Bunshin arrived, a ball of water encircled the clone, and Zabuza smirked and made hand signals before saying, "Water style. Water prison jutsu." He then added, "I will just hold you there until you drown." Naruto in the prison simply smirked, said, "Look underneath," and vanished in a puff of smoke. When a fist emerged from the water and struck Zabuza in the chin, sending him flying, Zabuza instantly began searching for the real boy. Naruto leapt after him and sent him back to shore with a reverse backflip kick. After briefly skidding to the shore, Zabuza stooped to swing his sword, destroying roughly 10 shadow clones that Naruto had made at the start of the battle. 10 more clones charged at Zabuza as he began to perform one-handed seals, but one of the Naruto clones, who had remained motionless in search of an opening, threw a shuriken and struck him in the hand, stopping his jutsu. A brief but lethal sword fight broke out between them. Naruto slashed at Zabuza's head, but Zabuza parried and dodged to the right. Then, he thrust at Naruto, who backflipped and landed on the blade's tip. Zabuza dropped his sword and leapt back a few feet. He then snatches a kunai and hurls it at Naruto, who catches it but drops it after seeing an exploding tag on it before leaping back. Reaching for his sword, Zabuza rushes towards Naruto. This continues for roughly 10 minutes until Zabuza begins to lose. Beast summoning. Fox Fang summoning pursuit, is said by Naruto after he bites his thumb and wipes the blood off a scroll. He then slams the scroll to the ground and makes some hand gestures. Each of Zabuza's arms is bitten by 2 foxes that leap out of the ground. "I am a hunter nin from the hidden village of Mist. My mission is to take Zabuza out. Thank you for the help." Haku, who has been watching all of this, throws some needles into Zabuza's neck and jumps down. He begins to approach him when Naruto says, "Before you take Zabuza, who I know is still alive, I have an offer for the both of you. I will not kill you or him, but I request you to revive him so I can tell you both my proposal." Haku. Haku freezes in place. At that moment Haku turns to face Naruto and asks, "How do you know my name?" Naruto flashes one of his genuine smiles and responds, "Gato was planning to kill you too after you finished this mission for him anyway because he is a greedy man and Zabuza is not cheap." At that moment, the 2 foxes that Naruto had previously summoned entered the field and dragged Gato between them while yelling. Thinking it's an attack, Sakura and Jiraiya position themselves for the new threat until they spot the foxes and realize what's happening. Haku observes this and turns to Naruto and says, "I will promise on my precious person to listen, but I cannot make the decision if we will take your offer." "I am a tool to my master." Naruto responds, "I understand, if you will allow it. My friend there is a medic nin and she can help you to heal his wounds. I give you my word on my precious people that you or him will not be harmed. I do know how your ice mirrors work and I can counter them, so please don't break your word. I must ask you to remove his weapons so he does not think he is still under an attack when he is revived. I have no objection to her helping. If what you say is true, you could have already killed the both of us." Haku stated, "I apologize for not telling you about Gato. It came to me on the boat ride to this shore," Naruto said, turning to Sakura. "Assist in the healing of any potentially fatal wounds, but wait until we speak with him. I don't want anything to happen to you." As Sakura begins to assist Haku, she pauses to hit Naruto on the head and yell, "Yubaka, if you ever do that to me Aegean, I will hurt you so bad it will take a month for you to get out of the hospital." Jiraiya approaches Gato, and the 2 foxes growl at him. He responds, "Relax, I am an ally of your lord over there. I just want to check him to make sure he won't die before he can be punished." The foxes turn to face Naruto, who simply shakes his head, and then approaches him. "I want to thank you both for following my orders. Did you have to kill anyone?" "No, Lord Naruto, we were able to grab him from his bedroom before anyone discovered us. I injected a sleep poison from my fangs into him so he could not raise the alarm, but it wore off after 30 minutes. Is there anything else you need, Lord?" The blue fox replied. They vanished in 2 puffs of smoke after Naruto said, "No, that will be all for now. Go home and get some rest, you have earned it." Sakura and Haku were working on Zabuza when Naruto approached them. Zabuza was awake when he got there, and Haku had already filled him in on everything that had transpired during his absence. He then looked at Naruto and asked, "What is this offer you have for me?" Gato, who had just been dragged over by Jiraiya, hears this and starts screaming, "I don't care what they offer you, I will double it if you will just kill them now and finish your mission." Zabuza looked at him and said, "Shut up, little man, or I will kill you." He then looks back to Naruto. "Well, like I said earlier, I know you are tired of being hunted down, not knowing if some lucky hunter nin will kill you or some contract you are working for turns you in and betray you, so here is my deal. We are from the village hidden in the leaf and we are not allied with the mist, so we can offer you a chance to get off the wanted list if you are willing to join the leaf. You will have to go through a probation period to make sure you are not a spy, but at least you and Haku will have a safe place to sleep and live. I know Haku sees himself as a tool for you, but I also know you see him as the closest thing to a son you ever had. As for how I know both of your names, I study missing nin names and known allies. I read a report once someone wrote about you and Haku. I will give you time to think this over. We have to deal with Gato. No. Naruto walked over to him and started pumping most of his killer intent out. Naruto said, Gato, let's have a little talk, shall we? I have heard about some of the crimes you have done to this country, and we are going to a business agreement. It was so powerful that everyone there was backing away from him. Gato shivered and asked, what kind of deal? Naruto sat down and wrote out a contract, which he then handed to Gato and said, the deal is as follows. In exchange for me not killing you, you will sign this contract that states all of Gato's shipping, industry and sub-companies and employees, and will include all of you money except for an amount of $1,000 a month will be given to the country of Wave. That $1,000 a month will be your salary to live on. You will be under house arrest with a seal I will put on you. You may leave the house during the day to work a job of hard labor paying back this country for what you did to it. The seal can only be removed if you have made penance enough for this country to forgive you. If you try to escape or leave the property of your house arrest, the seal will give you 3 warnings. The first will make you feel like you are being electrocuted until you return to your house. The second time it will make you feel like you are on fire until you return to your house. The third will be a combo of both until you return to your house. The 4th time it will destroy your body. Do we have a deal? Tizana, who watched all of this happen, could not believe what he was seeing. Gato signed the contract while bowing his head, saying, as the only representative to the country of Wave here, I give this contract to you to give to the proper authorities. Naruto took the contract, had everyone sign it, and handed it to Tizana. As he walked back to Zabuza, Naruto said, I will give you time to consider the offer if you need it, but we still have a mission to finish. I will summon a small fox and leave it with you so you can go and recover from your injuries. If you agree, just tell the fox and he will tell me. I say we should finish this mission within the next 2 weeks. If you decline, I will understand, but if you decide to attack us or any leaf ninja, the offer is void, and I will not hesitate to kill both of you. Naruto then called forth a fox and instructed it to stay with them for 2 weeks. After creating 5 shadow clones and putting 1 henge on a stretcher, Naruto carried Gatos to Tizana's village. They informed the village council when they arrived, and Gatos was moved into an older, dilapidated home. In order for it to interact with Gatos' seal, Naruto placed 1 seal on the house and 1 on himself. Jiraiya, Sakura, and Naruto met Tizana's grandson Inari and his daughter Tsunami. For the first week, everything went smoothly. Well, I made that deal with you, but I lied, and as soon as I have these men kill you and get me that contract back, and I will have everything back and I will destroy this bridge. Gatos and a group of mercenaries arrived at the bridge in the middle of the 2nd week, when most of the town was helping to finish the bridge. You think you outsmarted me with that seal? After you are dead I will hire someone to remove it for me. Now men kill them. You are truly a fool, Gato. I gave you a chance to live, you won't get a second, Naruto said after glancing at his teammates and all the villagers. The villagers gathered anything they believed could be used as a weapon and moved behind the leaf ninjas. Sakura and Naruto each created 25 clones, which they used to form a 2-line defense. Gato yelled, let me go, I don't want to die, which made everyone stop fighting and turn to face him after the mercenaries charged the ninja, and about half of the clones and most of Goto's men were either dead or gone in puffs of smoke. Zabuza was holding Gato by the neck, and Haku was standing beside him. Gato, you are a waste of life. Your kind of people is why I left my village. I will give the choice of punishment to the boy there. Zabuza then brandished his sword and pointed to Naruto. The majority of the villagers agreed when Inari said, he should die the way he killed my dad. Naruto turned to the villagers and asked, well, what do you want to do to him? When Naruto began to release his deadly aura once more, the other Gato's men turned and fled, but they still wanted to help their boss. That day, the bridge's construction was halted, and Zabuza performed the village's public execution. Gato was laid to rest in a potter's tomb. Following the cleanup of that mess, Haku and Zabuza approached Naruto and asked, are you sure your village Hokage will accept me and Haku? Naruto turned to face Jiraiya, who responded, if he does not approve, I give you my word as one of the 3 legendary Sannin to give you safe passage personally out of Fire Country. But since all 3 of us are backing you, the Hokage will agree. He trusts our judgment. Zabuza nodded and said, we will come with you when your mission is over. Sakura pulled Haku aside and began discussing medicine and what life was like in the Hidden Leaf. 2 days later, The bridge was completed, and the 5 ninjas departed to return home. Tazana was asked by some villagers what they should call the bridge. Once Tazana had given it some thought, the villagers all agreed, saying, "I think we should call it the Uzumaki Naruto Bridge of Hope." Naruto walked with his head down, staring at the ground, about 30 feet behind the rest of the group. On the way back about 3 hours later, Sakura became anxious and employed the Gemini Battle Link Jutsu. She was about to speak with him when she overheard Kyuubi and Naruto conversing. Naruto replied, "I know Kyuubi. I was able to save Haku this time and got both of them to come with us. I am happy about that, but I don't want to get back to the village yet. Kid, I know how you feel. I still can't believe they attacked you right before we left the village. I counted 30 of them. You could have killed them all, but you just let them beat you because they don't consider you a threat yet. If Gia team had not been running by the ally, they might have tried to kill you if they knew how strong you were. I do not doubt most of the village would come for your head. I healed you as fast as I could before the pervert and Sakura got there, but I was not fast enough," said Kyuubi. There was quite a while before he said, "The worst thing is Sakura and I might have a chance at a relationship and I would love that. I mean, we did sort of kiss, but she could blame that on emotional stress from the memory switch. I never had a real relationship with anyone until me and Sakura spent nearly a year and a half together alone, away from all of our friends and her family. I know I should quit living in the past of future how you look at it, but I don't know how to." Kyuubi said, "Kid, I think she is trying to sort out her own feeling also. I mean, look what has happened since you came back. You have already changed the future Naruto, even if it is only a little. I think what you should do is probably just be happy with the friendship you have with her now, but maybe you should distance yourself from her so she does not get hurt. I mean, in a few years, win or lose, she is going to have to live with the choices she has made. Maybe you should let fate decide. At least she respects you a little more than she did the first time. Remember Sasuke this and Sasuke that, and that time you saved her life from Gaara, and even when Sasuke said it was you who saved her, she said it had to be Sasuke because you were not strong enough. Remind me to give dear old dad a good beating when I die," Naruto said with a sigh. "Are you certain we can't employ that time travel technique once more, Kyuubi? We could go back to the time I lived alone for the first time, after the villager attempted to burn me alive in my first apartment, leading them to believe I had passed away. Sakura would have a chance with Sasuke. The villagers would not despise me, no one would be harmed, and I would gain the strength to kill the snake and Sasuke's brother so that they wouldn't ruin their lives together." Sakura has begun to notice how the villagers stare at me, which bothers me. "Hey, kid, we share the same sentiments. I would have refrained from attacking if I could have, but you don't deserve all that you endured. Both you and I are aware of the consequences of getting involved with anyone. She would either become resentful of you for the way the villagers treat her because of you, or they would use or harm her to get to you. That doesn't even include the harm they inflict on children. And know that I wasn't joking when I said that returning would result in your death," Kyuubi stated. After a long period of silence, Naruto said, "Fox, you are right. Haku had previously informed me that in order to be a true ninja, a person must kill their heart. I am aware that it will be painful, but in order to save more lives, I must kill my dreams and my heart. I'll simply leave this realm and enter the summon world as soon as we defeat the tailed demons, of which I am the last, and I know they won't return. I'll keep my distance from everyone so that no one will be harmed when I disappear. No one will miss me if they don't love me, since I can see the gates in the distance. I suppose I should pretend to be the fool that everyone believes me to be. Yahoo, we are home, let's go see the Hokage and fill out our report." Naruto screamed. Jiraiya informed them that Haku and Zabuza desired to join the village. When 4 ABNU members showed up at the gates, they led them to the Hokage office after taking guard positions around the group. Having surreptitiously overheard the conversation, Sakura cancelled the jutsu and began to wonder why he had to endure such suffering. She asked herself, what did he ever really do to deserve all of this? And what should I do? IP3 replied, "Well, from what I understand, you have a few choices. There are 3 options. 1. You can put him out of your life, train, and move on. 2. You can confront him about what you heard and try to persuade him to change his mind and become friends. And 3. You can acknowledge that you care about him and try to make him happy, but you will likely make the villagers hate you as well. Additionally, you must acknowledge that Sasuke will rejoin the group in a week." Sakura simply let out a sigh and followed the group to the office of the Hokage. While traveling there, she witnessed a villager pick up a rock and hurl it at Naruto, who was once again in front of the group. He simply looked down and continued to walk after she saw it strike him in the back. Because he didn't want to upset their 2 new allies, Jiraiya was unable to take action regarding that villager. When they witnessed Naruto being struck by the rock, neither Zabuza nor Haku took any action, and neither did the rest of the group. "Why did the villager do that?" Zabuza asked out loud. "That monster deserved it," was said by an ABNU wearing a Wea Sil mask. Sakura lost it and performed a one-handed seal while mumbling Earth style. Earth pitfall just you. A tiny, 3-foot-deep hole appeared directly in front of the Weasil masked Abnu, who stepped into it and fell, breaking his nose and hitting his face and face mask on the ground. His ankle also broke due to the abrupt change in weight. Jiraiya instructed them to go to the hospital after one of the ABNU helped him up. Jiraiya, Zabuza, and Haku all witnessed Sakura perform the jutsu but remained silent. Jiraiya displayed silence jutsu as they entered the Hokage's office and explained the mission, introducing Haku and Zabuza. The Hokage continued, "Welcome to the Leaf Village. I will have to put you under a probation period of 2 months where you will have a curfew of 7 p.m. unless you are on mission. Certain area will be off limit until the probation period is over. You each will have 1 ABNU watching you for the probation and your pay from missions will be charged 20% until the probation is over. I will give you a 2-bedroom apartment and deduct you rent out of your mission pay for the first 6 months also. After that you will be able to either stay in your apartment and continue paying your own rent or you can find one more suitable after that time. Do you accept?" Zabuza looked at Haku and replied. "We accept, but we have one question first. On the way here we saw the boy there getting angry stares and even had a villager throw a rock at him. I asked why that happened and an ABNU said that monster deserved it. My question is why?" Naruto nodded. 12 years ago this village was attacked by the Kyuubi for reason most don't know or care and a lot of people died. The only way to stop it was to seal the demon away. It was sealed in me. The villagers hate me because as long as I live the demon live. The story is more complicated than that but that's the gist of it. I am the walking prison for the Kyuubi." Naruto sighed at that point and said, "I am not feeling very good right now. I will talk to you later. If you need anything else old man I will be at my rental house while I can before I go back to my old apartment." Then Naruto jumped out the window and was gone. The Hokage murmured, "The boy really trusts you. I made a law to try and make it easier on him years ago saying no one was to tell the younger generation about it but Naruto has the right to tell anyone he chooses. He has very few people he trusts and even fewer who never knew about it. The older members of the town know the truth because they were alive when it happened but most hate him for the friends and family they lost. I ask you not to speak about it now. If you would go out to the secretary and give her this note she will have someone show you to your place and get you set up." The Hokage asked. What happened? After Haku and Zabuza left the office, Sakura was the first to say anything. Before we left on the mission Naruto was attacked by 30 villagers. He tried to keep it a secret but I overheard him and Kyuubi talking. I was worried about him and I used her Gemini jutsu and overheard them without me knowing. He acted like he walked into a tree in front of the client when we walked up. After we got back and Zabuza asked his question the ABNU in a Weasil mask called him a monster and said he deserved it. I got mad and I used a low-level one-handed jutsu to make him fall. He had a broke nose and a sprained ankle from what I could see. I know what I did was wrong and I will take any punishment you want." The third sighed and said, "That won't be necessary Sakura. Since you completed all the objectives for the mission, go ahead and get some rest, visit your mom and relax, you got the next 3 days off." After Sakura left Jiraiya said to the third, "The boy is good. He took everything Zabuza had and beat him. They must have did a number on him for his healing power to not heal him to the extent I saw." After that he left to go find Tsunade and tell her how the mission went. He discovered her instructing Hinata on how to revive a fish at the hospital. The mission was a success and both objectives were met but some events happened I will tell you about tonight. I missed you dear. I also kept my promise. You can ask them. I never went to do research any on this mission. See you tonight love, he said as he kissed her briefly before he left. Can we take a break sensei? I feel like I am almost out of chalk, she said, collapsing on the floor as he left to rest for a moment. Tsunade said, well, you are getting better 45 minutes before you out cold. She halted her stopwatch after that. She had Shizune look after Hinata while she went in search of her fiancé copyright. Since they were currently short-staffed, a nurse approached her as she was approaching the nurse's station and asked if she had time to look at an ABNU who had arrived a little earlier. Tsunade nodded and entered the room where a man was sitting in a chair with a leg up in another chair and an ABNU mask on the counter next to him, attempting to stop a nosebleed. The ABNU responded, I was escorting 2 missing nin. The demon brat, some pink-haired girl, and the other Sanin to the Hokage office. Someone used a jutsu on me and made me fall, breaking my nose and spraining my leg. I am willing to bet it was that demon brat. I will get him for it. Tsunade became irritated because she began to think of Naruto as her younger brother, but they kept that a secret from those who were aware of the training. She then said, let me check you over and fix your injuries. She then quickly checked his nose and said, let me fix that real quick. She then put a hand on each side of his and twisted it hard left and right a few times, saying, well, in about a week it should be okay. She then checked his ankle and found it to be sprained rather than broken, but she wanted to hurt him even more, so she said, unfortunately I can't give you anything for pain because you might put too much weight on it and damage it permanently. The ABNU let out a baby-like scream as she put it in a cast. She pulled on a white glove and let it snap, saying, I might as well give you a complete physical while I'm here, prostate and colon test and lots of lab. A shout of, you forgot to take of your RINNNGGGGGG. Echoed throughout the town. A few minutes later Tsunade said, you can return to active duty after about 6 weeks and after you pass another physical. She smiled as she left after the 30 lab results were returned. A combination of pain and blood loss caused him to faint. Sakura said, Mom, I'm home, as she went to visit her mother. I am in the kitchen, was said by Rina, who didn't know her mother's name. While her mother was putting away the dishes, Sakura went to the kitchen. Rina paused her activity and sat down at the table with Sakura, saying, Mom, I need some advice. Mom, what do you think about Naruto? I was at the meeting so I heard everything. I am trying to figure him out. I was curious what you thought of him honestly. Rina paused for a moment and replied, I don't know. Before that meeting I always thought of him as a demon because I hear what villagers said he did. I always tried to avoid him and keep you away from him because I did not want to see you get hurt. Sakura took a moment to look at the table and asked, Mom, did you ever see proof of the stuff he done or supposed to have done? No Sakura, I did not. I remember hearing the reason he had to leave the orphanage was because he put another kid in the hospital. Rina replied, Sakura read the memoirs of Naruto and told her, the director of the orphanage had 12 of the older boys beat him while he watched, and when Naruto hit a kid in the nose the director kicked him in the stomach, breaking 5 of his ribs that caused him to be put in the hospital for 1 day before the hospital kicked him out. What else did you hear he did? Rina paused for a moment and inquired, I heard when he got his own place he tried blowing up the entire building. How do you know what you said? Sakura, 5 villagers broke into his apartment while he was asleep and tied him up and set fire to his apartment trying to kill him. The only reason he survived that attack was because his apartment had a sprinkler system. I'll answer that question in a little while. What else did he do? Said Rina was starting to get anxious, so she said, well, I heard he steals all the time and the Hokage has set up an account to pay the business for their losses. Sakura considered that for a moment before saying, Mom, if a business did not make enough profit in a month and they heard about the account the Hokage made, don't you think they could claim he broke in or stole something and then get paid for their supposed losses? Also, how many businesses would even let him inside? Between the ABNU, villagers, and ninja who despise him and seek out an excuse to kill him, don't you think they would stop him if he was stealing? Sakura went upstairs, took a quick shower, and fell asleep after thinking about what her daughter had said. Rina retired to her room. She became more convinced that her daughter's statement might be accurate the more she considered how she witnessed the village treat that boy. Jiraiya approached Naruto, who was sitting in the compound's hot spring contemplating, and sat on the side of the spring, staring at the boy. Jiraiya said, you want to talk about it, kid? Jiraiya asked, what kind of stuff? Naruto said without even looking up, why talking won't solve anything. In fact, the villagers just helped me come to some discussion on some stuff. Let's just say that when this whole mess is over with and Akatsuki and the snake have been dealt with, no one will have to worry about any tailed demons ever again. Naruto exited the water, wrapped a robe around himself, and said, you, Sunda, and Shizune can stay here. In fact, I will give it to you both as a wedding present. When I'm gone I want the rest of my inheritance to go to Sakura. I won't have any family to leave it to, so somebody might as well get some good use out of it. Before the hermit could get to his feet or speak, Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke for a moment. The hermit pondered that although people might not be concerned about tailed demons anymore, Naruto Uzumaki would still be present if I could take any action. Foolish individuals. Naruto was experiencing a nightmare while lying in bed. Naruto was panting on the ground. The battle with the Atasuka members was over. The leader of the evil group is lying on the ground a few feet away, lifeless. A figure approaches the body slowly and says, "Ha. I can't believe this. After all my planning, lying, and deceit, I am just a minute away from having the power to rule the world as I wish, and you demon and your pathetic friends try to ruin all my plans. I still can't believe all of them would die just to protect you, and I got this body from that stupid girl that jumped in front of you at the last second before I could jump into your body. SSAAKKUURRAA. Naruto seemed as he woke up in a cold sweat, remembering the nightmare. He cried, rocking back and forth, and curled up with his knees beside his chin, rocking back and forth and sobbing. You might have survived, but all of our friends were dead. You had to save me, but why? I am merely a vessel for demons. I shouldn't have been permitted to survive. The villagers are correct. He then sat there and sobbed for a while until he fell back asleep. I am so tired of it. Why? Naruto's cry of Sakura woke Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune, who were sleeping in their respective beds, and they rushed to his room, stopping outside his door when they heard him sobbing and asking, "Why did you have to jump between us and save me? Why? You might have survived, but all of our friends were dead. You had to save me, but why? I am merely a vessel for demons. I shouldn't have been permitted to survive. The villagers are correct. Why? They exchanged glances before Jiraiya motioned for them to follow him. That kid is a walking powder keg right now, Jiraiya said as she led them to the flower garden, and they all took a seat beneath a tree. He will either bring someone down with him or destroy himself. I admit that I don't know him very well, but I don't know how he is still going from the emotional and physical stress I have seen the boy go through, Jiraiya said. Shizune asked, "Do you think it is all the stuff he's seen from the future or the past?" Tsunade sighed and replied, "I think it is a combination of all of it." "What are you thinking, Tsunade?" Jiraiya asked. "Remember the little memory switch? Sakura has his memories too." Shizune nodded and went to get Sakura, saying, "I want you to go get her and bring her here as fast as you can. She might be the solution if we are going to assist him," Tsunade stated. Rina was the first to hear Shizune beating on Sakura's front door while she was asleep in her bed. When she went downstairs to see who it was, Shizune said, "I'm sorry to wake you at this hour. My name is Shizune, and I am Tsunade assistant and Sakura other Tekaher." Rina let her in and went to fetch Sakura. When they got downstairs, Sakura asked, "What's wrong, Shizune?" Shizune replied, "We need you at the compound now. Tsunade need to see you fast at the compound." Sakura nodded and ran upstairs to get dressed, and when she came back down, her mother had changed too, saying, "I don't know what's going on, but I am coming, so don't argue." Sakura glanced at the anxious Shizune, then turned back to her mother, saying, "Okay, but when we get close I will have to blindfold you." Rina agreed, and they left. Tsunade said, "You can take the blindfold off, Rina. I understand why you had it on and why you are here." Rina removed it, and the two of them sat down. "I am the Toad Sanin Jiraiya, and I believe you already met Tsunade and her assistant Shizune," Sakura said as she led her mom, who was wearing a blindfold, into the garden 20 minutes later. "You cannot talk about anything you hear. It is among the most important secrets in the village." Jiraiya asked, "Do you understand?" Rina simply nodded in agreement. "Sakura, how much does your mom know about what's going on?" After giving it some thought, Sakura responded, "She knows certain things about Naruto, but she does not know how or why." Tsunade asked, "I know she was at the meeting and told about Naruto coming back. Does she know anything else?" Tsunade glanced at Jiraiya and saw that he nodded before saying, "Rina, the reason Sakura knows things about Naruto is because a few weeks before Naruto returned, he was seriously injured by a mental genjutsu. That's why I was considering telling her, but I wanted to attend some discussions first." His Abnu partner had to enter his head using her medical expertise. Sakura interrupted Tsunade by stating, his partner was a few weeks pregnant at the time and wanted to make sure her child would have some memories of her mom in case she was killed. So she made a deal with Kyuubi without Naruto knowing at the time since he was still out. His partner already knew about Kyuubi and she had him help her to repair Naruto's mind from the mental damage. I was his ABNU partner. Kyuubi told him about it when he returned, and he was telling the Hokage everything. The Hokage wanted to use the other memories as well, and they had Naruto's memory of everything that happened, but it was only from one perspective. Because he believed it would violate my privacy, Naruto was unwilling to do that. I was initially upset when they told me about it, and they gave me 3 options. 1. My memories from the future could be used to provide information. 2. Permit Naruto to use my memories to assist, or 3. Don't let anyone use them and only use Naruto's. I offered them a 4th option. I would take my memories and give them to Naruto as well, but I also took his. He tried to talk him out of it by pointing out how awful his were, but I was upset because I felt like I was being taken advantage of, so I forced him to give me his as well. We performed the memory switch, and I gained all of his and my skills and knowledge from it. After we did it, me and him made an agreement. Since Kyuubi and my inner self can help us out, they categorized all the info so we would not have memory overload or something. The agreement is we would only access the memories of specific event of importance like the attacks and the war's battles and just fighting styles. Rina was shocked for a moment and sorted through her emotions, then she asked two questions. Sakura, you said you were pregnant. Who was the father and what did you mean by your inner self? Sakura said, I have not checked the memory to see who was the father because I did not want to ruin something special, but I can ask my inner self. I will introduce you. She then did some hand signs and said, IP3 Cage Human Bunshin. And IP3 appeared in a puff of smoke screaming. Why did you bring me out? I was watching a pretty good fight in there. Before she noticed everyone there. Sakura then said, I can bring her out the same way Naruto brings Kyuubi out, but she is a different personality than me. In other words, I am the side of her she don't let out. Speaking of when you going to let me talk to Kyuubi, we were working on another jutsu to help you both, but you have not let me use the Gemini jutsu ever since we got back. Sakura just rubbed her head and said, you know, there are times I cannot figure you out. When we met Kyuubi at Naruto's Middenscape during the memory transfer, you scared the living daylights out of him by threatening to turn him into a woman and stating that you wanted a fur coat. IP3 simply shook her head and said, what can I say? At this point, Jiraiya hid behind Tsunade, and everyone else went pale. Then after a little while you had a candlelight dinner with him. I am aware of my preferences, and aside from the fact that he is merely a large teddy bear, he is genuinely good-hearted once you look past his teeth and claws. Come on, I only can watch both of your memories so many times before I get bored. At that moment both Tsunade, Rina, Sakura, Shizune, and Jiraiya started asking a different question at the same time. Who is the father of my future grandchild? Rina said, while Tsunade said, what is it that has Naruto is screaming about Sakura saving him in his sleep? While Shizune asked, what is upsetting Naruto, the future or past stuff? Jiraiya asked, why is Naruto planning on doing after this mess is over with? And Sakura asked, what are you doing looking at those memories? I made a deal not to look at them. IP3 sweat dropped a moment and worked through all the questions. She then said, Sakura, do you want me to honestly answer all these questions? Sakura yelled, yes, I want you answer the question, before she realized what IP3 was saying. IP3 nodded and said, okay, in the order easiest to hardest. Sakura, your answer is I was bored and I may be a part of you, but I am not you, so I don't have to follow that promise. Besides, I got lonely and bored. Shizune, it is the past, present and future. I say out of all of his memories he has not had over 100 truly happy ones. This village has harmed Naruto so much in the past that it frightens him. His future is his next to last memory, and the last memory broke his spirit so much that he doesn't want anything similar to that to happen this time. Now, he doesn't want you to be hurt by being near him because he fears what the village will do to you, Sakura. Imagine people calling you a demon whore or slut, forbidding you from entering their stores or restaurants, chatting behind your back, destroying your house, threatening you, and terrorize you. Despite your strength, consider what would happen if you were attacked by a group of people. You did receive a small bonus from this mess, such as better healing, but could you handle it on a daily basis? Keep in mind that he was attacked by 30 villagers prior to our mission. Rina and Tsunade, you might as well ask the same question. What makes Naruto yell that Sakura saved his life? Just before he returned, the Akatsuki leader was preparing to switch bodies once more after he had already defeated the other 8-tailed demons and switched souls to take Naruto's body when Sakura leapt in front of him and had her body taken over. Unfortunately, he also did the one thing that Naruto was unaware of until Kyuubi informed him in his final recollection. Everyone in the room gasped when he jumped into Sakura's body, effectively killing the unborn child he was unaware she was carrying his unborn child. Naruto blames himself for not being able to save you from the future. IP3 continued after everyone had caught their breath. You were the one thing he cared about more than anything else in this world, and the one thing he ever wanted more than being Hokage was one day having a family. Now that he's back in the past and things are changing, he doesn't want to see you suffer because he was so close to finally having that with you from the future. He wants you to be content and lead a typical life. He is aware that you were both alone, cut off from everyone and everything, which is the only reason you two were able to be together in the future. You two discovered unwavering love for one another. And now for the final query. According to what we overheard him and Kyuubi say, Naruto was so terrified when we used the Gemini Jutsu on the way that he even devised a plan to allow the villagers to kill him when he was younger in his first apartment when they tried to burn him. He claimed that in order to be a true ninja, a person must kill their heart. I am aware that it will be painful, but in order to save more lives, I must kill my dreams and my heart. I'll simply leave this realm and enter the summon world as soon as we defeat the tailed demons, of which I am the last, and I know they won't return. I'll keep my distance from everyone so that no one will be harmed when I disappear. No one will miss me if I am loved, which is what I believe he intends to do, but I cannot be certain. Well, does anybody have any additional questions? Everyone was taking it different. Sakura was crying, her mom was holding her trying to calm her while sort everything out. Shizune was an emotional roller coaster. First she was mad at Naruto for thinking that way, then she was sad because she could not believe he had to live through so much sadness, then worried trying to figure a way to help him. Then mad at the villagers, then psycho mode wanting to kill all of them for hurting him, then sad Aegean thinking how bad he must hurt. Tsunade wanted to meet the Weasil masked Abnu and anyone else that thought like him and give them a one-way trip to the emergency room. Jiraiya just wanted a way to take the boy, clean his mind off all the sadness and let him have a new life somewhere far away and a chance at happiness. Ip3 saw everyone sad and said, I know we can't do anything about the past or his original future, but we have a chance to change, to begin afresh. The best things in life don't always come easily, but I saw a memory of Naruto telling him that sometimes you have to crawl after you walk in order to run to the prize. He might just roll over and let death slowly take him. In my opinion, if one more really horrible thing were to happen to him, consider it. Bye, she said, and vanished. About 15 minutes later, Tsunade said, all right. We need to take action because this isn't working. Only a select few are likely to be able to penetrate the emotional barrier he has established. The only people I know are Jiraiya, myself, Shizune, Sakura, and the third. He pretends to smile and behaves normally around everyone else. I think the only thing that separates us is that we truly see him for who he is. Does anyone have any ideas to help him get through this mess? Tsunade asked. She started to look at each of them, and when she got to Rina she said, I admit I don't know him at all besides hear people talk and from that meeting the other night. I suppose Sakura's involvement was the reason I was invited. This involves my daughter to some extent, and I can't just watch and at least not try to help her. Jiraiya continued, well, let's see what we know for sure. First, he is returning to his apartment tomorrow, which the village has most likely destroyed since he moved here nearly 2 months ago. Tsunade laughed, but halted abruptly, and said, 3. The Uchiha must believe Naruto is still dead last and boast about it, even after what he did to you during the bell test. 2. He and Sakura will reunite with the Uchiha and Kakashi at noon so they can gain some team experience with D-rank missions so they can be in position to draw out the snake. Sakura groaned and said, oh no, that stupid cat. Do you still care about the Uchiha, Sakura? If not, you might have to pretend so that he still believes you are one of his fangirls who follows him everywhere, including your rivalry with Ino. That is one thing I'm not sure I can do. Sakura's mother looked at her and inquired, what happened during the bell test? I stood back from him for a while and saw how big of an arrogant jerk he truly is. I don't know if I can. Sakura looked at the ground and said, the bell test is a test to put 3 genin against each other by providing bells, and only those who have the bells at the end of the test pass. Those who don't fail and go back to the academy, but in reality it is a team test. You never told me about any of this, and I can understand some of the reason for you not telling me about the future stuff, but why haven't you told me what already happened? Sasuke saw an opening and attacked me, but Naruto and I managed to get the bell together in the allotted time. After the attack, Naruto assisted and healed me. Rina nodded, turned to face everyone, and remarked, if people would give Naruto a chance, he sounds like a decent Jia. Sasuke never even bothered to check on me, but a demon never gets a chance, she said, interrupted by a voice in the tree above them, shocking everyone. Not even after repeatedly saving the village. Sakura, don't worry about Ino. She actually likes Choji, so her rivalry with you is only a motivator for you to work harder. If all goes according to plan, I hope that Sasuke will survive and, after his brother passes away, he will likely become a good Jia. If the snake dies first, you can have the dream you've always desired before I ruin your life. I appreciate everyone's concern for me, and I listened to everything you had to say. Ever since Sakura arrived at the compound, I have been here. Her scent would be recognizable everywhere. It shows that you somewhat care about me, so I'm not angry that you listened to me on the way back from the mission, Sakura. I begged you not to take my memories because I didn't want you to know about my last memories before I returned. I was also more than willing to agree to just look at the important information so you wouldn't be interested in looking into the personal details and learning more about our relationship. I will admit that I love you more than life itself, but in order to protect the people we leave behind, we sometimes have to give up the things we value most. We are on a mission to save Sakura, our friends, and our village. Everyone is making every effort to prepare in order to have a chance of surviving. I would confront the threat directly if I knew where it was, but I don't want anyone else to be harmed. You are free to lead a normal life in any way you like once the threat has passed. Don't worry about me, please look, everyone is agitated for no apparent reason, and it's late. I'm going to pack up my belongings so I can return to my apartment tomorrow. By the way, Ero Senin, if you have a moment, please have the paperwork prepared for our earlier conversation. The upcoming months will be challenging if everything goes as planned. Remember to follow through on what I told you because I will be adding more later. As he departed into a cloud of smoke, Naruto said, "Good night." The first to regain her composure was Tsunade, who turned to face her fiancé copyright and asked, "Explain what he told you to take care of." Jiraiya sighed, took a few steps back, and replied, "He asked me to take care of two things for him. One was a gift for our wedding. He's showing us his family compound, and then I'm in need of a drink." As they began rolling up the sleeves of their shirts, Tsunade and Sakura both exclaimed, JJJJJIRRRAIYYYYA. He then crawled back against a tree and waved his arms in front of him, saying, he wanted me to make sure that the rest of his inheritance from his father and any outstanding mission paid to go to Sakura. He stated that since he won't have any family to leave it to, it might as well be put to good use by someone he cares about. According to my research, there is likely enough there to purchase the majority of the Land of Fire at the highest price and still have some left over. As he puts his hands over his head, Sakura stops dead in her tracks and everyone turns to stare at her. She walks to the tree behind the cowering man and hits it once with her fist, breaking it at the base and sending the 3-foot-wide tree flying for 100 yards before it falls to the ground. Rina notices her daughter's strength and sweat drops, and she says, "Sakura dear, I think you need to calm down a little and think things through. I mean, it won't solve anything if you hit him with that strength and kill him before you have a chance to help him." Sakura looks at the ground with her back to the group, concealing her tears, and says in a voice barely audible above a whisper, "But everyone else? Why do you have to care for me so much, Yubaka? I am not anything special." She looks up at the stars and asks, "Why must he be willing to give everything for me?" Her mother, who heard her daughter sobbing, walks up behind Sakura and embraces her, whispering to her, "My little blossom, I think the best thing you can do right now is get some rest and figure out what you really feel. You are the only one who can live your life, even though I know it is confusing. Verify what you are prepared to do to keep him if you care about him. If you want to be friends or something more, make sure you can live with that decision. I can't decide for you, no matter what you decide." Rina closes her eyes and says, "You are my daughter, but you are also old enough to make your own decisions." Sakura stops crying and asks her mother, "You'll what, mom?" as she drops to her knees while her mother is still holding her. "No matter what you decide, I will always be there for you." After hearing this, Sakura begins to cry once more and eventually faints. Tsunade and Shizune, who witnessed the exchange, approached and picked up Sakura's body, while Shizune assisted Rina in standing up. "Look, it's late and your home is all the way across town. Why don't you stay in Sakura room here for the night? I mean, if you want to." Too exhausted to argue, Rina simply nods as they lead her inside the enormous 3-story house. Tsunade showed her the room with the large king-size bed where Sakura had been staying. The room was painted with a scene of a waterfall and a stream that wound around the room and returned to the waterfall's top, surrounded by trees and sporadic small animals such as squirrels, rabbits, and birds. After returning to the house, she decided she needed to eat before bed, so she left the room to go to the kitchen. Naruto had finished packing his meager possessions in preparation for returning to his tiny one-bedroom apartment. Kyuubi said, "Kit, we need to talk and I want to stretch my legs since I won't get to do it again for a while. Let me come out for a little while." He had made the decision to try to sleep after packing. Naruto agreed and made the Kyuubi bunshin because he was too exhausted to argue with the fox. Rina, returning from the kitchen, heard Naruto talking and became curious, so she sat down outside his door to listen. Then he said, "Okay, you're out now, so what did you want to talk about?" She next heard, "Kid, you need to quit giving up on having a chance at a normal life. I know I screwed up your life from the start, but you always were the one who would fight against anything you thought was wrong or unjust, so why are you giving up now?" The fox looked at Naruto and responded, "You know as well as I do, if anyone ever got close to me again, they would get hurt not by me but because of me. I would give anything to have a chance to be normal, but if I was normal then all my precious people that died in the future would still be dead, as would I, and I would never have had a chance to come back to try and save them." Kyuubi looked mad at Naruto and said, "Cut the bull crap, kid. I have known you your whole life. You and me both know what it is that is driving you right now. The girl you want to make sure she above everyone lives and has a chance at a normal life because you never forgave yourself for the one promise you were never able to keep. You knew Sakura loved the Uchiha and then he betrayed the village. You went after him and had a chance to kill him to save the village from the snake freak, but you tried to save him instead. Even after he tried to kill you twice with that Chidori of Kakashi. You tried to track him down every time you left the village after that for her, even after the order to kill him on sight were issued for the crimes he committed and all the murders. You said you were willing to kill your heart, you did remember. Every time you went to find him for her she never knew you did it. After you finally had a solid lead to where he was you kept the other promise and you both went after him and you failed her by one day. You still blame yourself because if you would have went for him when you found out where he would be instead of getting the pervert to come with you to help protect Sakura you could have saved him. You blame yourself that you were not strong enough at the time to keep the promise. You failed to bring him back for her, you also lost one of your only true friends in the pervert when he died on that mission. You hate the fact that for everything you ever accomplished you had to break the one promise to the only person you ever truly let through your emotional shield to make her happy. Kit, you know as well as I do the Uchiha only had two things on his mind. One was killing his brother at all cost and two find someone who would give him a large family. He never wanted love. He just was worried about restoring his clan. Even if you did bring him back odds or if he chose Sakura he never would have loved her. She would always have been the mother of his children. That is not the life she deserves, so why are you willing to give up on making her happy? Sakura's mother put her hand over her mouth as she listened to this. In all honesty, she could see the Uchiha child doing that. Every adult in the community was aware that his only two priorities were getting revenge and reuniting with his clan. She anxiously awaited Naruto's response to the question. Naruto looked at the floor sadly and finally said, Sakura deserves better than Sasuke and I know how he would treat her. I would do anything for her but she always loved Sasuke. I know that me and her were together in the future but her heart had always belonged to Sasuke. Even after he died she would be asleep by me and she would cry in her sleep. When I asked her if she wanted to talk about it she would say there is nothing to talk about. I don't want her to feel the pain of losing her love Aegean. She would have done anything to be with him. I had hoped that she was in love with me but I know that she could not because I was the only thing she had left linked to him. If I can save Sasuke for her this time she will probably still be with him but she might find out he is not what she always thought he was before it's too late and find her someone who would actually love her for her and not the mother of his children. I would love to be that for her but it cannot happen. If she chose to be with me she would have to sacrifice so much because of the hate people have for me. And I could not ask her to leave the only home she ever had. For either of those things she would eventually hate me also to the point she would leave and still be branded by the village or she would take her own life. I can deal with what they do to me but I never could forgive them if they hurt her. I could destroy this town in one attack easy if they hurt her and I would do it. I done it before, remember, it's the same attack I used on the snake. After he took over Sasuke's body and killed Ero Sennin, you remember what I did. He used her as a hostage and stabbed her with that poisoned grass cutter sword of his. I broke both of his arms after freeing her. He ran into his fortress and I destroyed his entire fortress in one attack, and then after that he tried to escape. I forced him to give me a cure for the poison, then I took his life for hurting her, and I actually enjoyed killing him. I don't like to kill. Until that point I had only killed 3 people in my entire life, but after I saw him hurt her I could not take it. No, it is not worth the risk of her being hated because of me. The only thing I can do for her is make sure she survives with as many people who are precious to her and hope she has a happy life. I can't give that to her. I could promise her I could, but I know it would be the second promise I broke to her. Her mom would grow to hate her because the village would say, "You let your daughter be with a demon. How can you stand seeing filth like that with your own flesh and blood?" Nothing I will ever do will be enough to change the fact that anyone who got too close to me would get hurt. I made a promise to myself years ago. I would protect those who are important to me, even if I have to protect them from myself. In a puff of smoke, Kyuubi simply sighed and said, "You're doing it again, putting a wall around your emotions so that no one can see you hurting. For what it's worth, I am sorry. I'm sorry, Sakura. I do love you no matter what, and I hope you find a way to be happy." Naruto sighed and turned over in his bed. Here's to one last night in a safe bed. Rina pondered everything she had heard and wondered if he was correct before slowly leaving the door she had been sitting by. She attempted to fall asleep in Sakura's room, but to no avail. She simply sat in bed contemplating what she could do to support Sakura in the event that she came to love him. Although she had a few ideas, she needed to speak with some people to get their opinions on the boy. Considering what they had witnessed as well as what they had been told, she realized she likely had a difficult battle ahead of her. When Sakura woke up the following morning, She realized where she was and saw her mother dozing off at the room's desk. Sakura's mother quickly turned over the notes of ideas she had worked on and asked Sakura, "Did you have a good night's sleep, dear?" Sakura shook her head, and Rina said, "I was wondering if you thought any more about Naruto." She woke her mother up and said, "Mom, what are you doing over here at my desk? There was more than enough room for us both to sleep in that bed." Sakura gave her mother a doubtful glance before shaking her head once more. Her mom responded with, "Well, what have you decided or not decided? I would like to help you if you would let me help figure out what to do." Sakura paused for a moment and replied, "Well, I know I promised Naruto I would stay out of most of the memories, but after last night when I passed out I had my inner self start showing me things, from not only my point of view but his as well. I then compared the memories to those from my life before the memory switch and I found some things that I never realized or had forgotten, and I have even more respect for him now. You remember the day I first made friends with Ino?" Rina responded, "Yes. Why?" Sakura sat down on her bed and said, "Well, what I had forgotten until I saw a replay of it is a boy with whisker marks on his face was sitting in a swing alone when he saw those bullies picking on me, so he came over and started calling names at the bully that were picking on me and getting ready to pooch me. He was causing one heck of a scene." Ino walked over to see what was going on as well as some adults. The boy saw the bully had quit picking on me, so he said, "Hey Pinky, do you let your boyfriends always fight for you?" I screamed back at him saying he was just upset because people wanted to be with me. He then saw Ino came over and he said, "Great, now your blonde friend is probably going to want to fight me also." Ino then ran to him and punched him, calling him a jerk. He ran off after that and Ino came to see if I was okay. The bullies followed the kid with whiskers on his face. Me and Ino became friends after that. The kid with whiskers was Naruto. I got curious after I saw that memory and I looked into his to see what happened to him after that. Some of the adult helped corner him and hold him down while the bullies took turns beating him while the adult told them they were doing a good deed for the village. Someone found him in the alley after it was over and took him to the hospital. The doctors washed his face off and when they saw it was him threw him out the back door of the hospital. I found so many times looking at memories that he helped me out and I never even gave him the time of day. Whenever he saw me getting depressed because Sasuke would turn me down and say I was weak, he would say something so stupid to make me mad, so I would forget what Sasuke said. I would yell at him and hit him on the head or in the face and stomp off, cussing him for being an idiot. That along with so many other things he did for me. He saved the village from the sand demon that is inside of Gaara, who had me held prisoner unconscious, and after I awoke he told me he saved me and I called him a liar. Sasuke said it was the truth and that he had saved him also, and I told Sasuke there was no way Naruto could do that because he was an idiot and that Sasuke was just trying to be modest. I never knew I was so dense, and it was the same way when we first started team during the bell test. Naruto was willing to face my wrath and let me pass so I could be happy, and I thought he was a baka. What do you think I should do, Mom? Before going through some of the papers she had written on, Rina took out a test consisting of 12 questions. She told Sakura, "I made this last night, and it should help you figure out what you are going through. I want you to answer them honestly for you, not what other people want you to do. But I think when you are done you will know what you should do. I will give you some privacy and fix you some breakfast. Be back in a little while." Rina then handed Sakura the paper and departed the room with a sigh. Sakura started the brief test. 1. How did you feel and think about Naruto before the whole thing with memories in the future started? After giving it some thought, Sakura jotted down, "I believed him to be a simpleton who merely wished to destroy my life. I detested him." 2. Who and why did you care about at the time? She wrote, "I thought Sasuke Uchiha was cool. All the girls desired to be with him. He excelled in the class." 3. What actions would you have taken to be with him at the time? Sakura wrote with a sigh, "I would have changed my hair, clothes, friends, food, likes and dislikes, fought for him, and even sacrificed my life to win his love." 4. If you had to go back in time and change everything, would you have been truly happy? After giving it careful thought, Sakura chose to write, "No, because doing so would require me to change who I am." 5. How do you feel about him now? She wrote quickly, "He is a self-centered jerk who only thinks about himself." 6. Who, in your opinion, is a better fit for you than your response to question number 2? Sakura quickly selected one after considering all the people who held special meaning for her. Indeed, Naruto. 7. Would you be satisfied with the person you selected for number 6 if you had to complete any or all of the tasks in number 3? Sakura thought about all of her answers for number 3 and how they would relate to Naruto while she sat on her bed. She then wrote, "Indeed. 8. If you were truly despised by everyone you knew or respected, with the exception of the individual in number 6, would you ever regret it?" Sakura quickly figured that one out number 9 if number 8 occurred, would you genuinely be content enough to live and remain with that person? When Sakura realized what the question was about and how she would be treated, she briefly started crying. She took some time to consider it and then wrote. Indeed 10 would you be able to be truly happy and love the person from number 6 through all of his flaws and qualities for the rest of your life if you had to do everything in number 3 or worse, and you accepted everything that would happen in numbers 7, 8, and 9? Both in public and in private, even if it was for eternity. Before responding, Sakura carefully read each question. Indeed 11 now that you know Naruto better, how do you truly feel about him? Why? That was Sakura's simplest response. He has sacrificed everything for me and loved me for who I am, not what he desired me to be. I adore him. 12 Will you inform him and force him to accept whatever response you ultimately came up with? Even though he is stubborn and when, if so? At this, Sakura grinned malevolently, cracked her knuckles, and wrote. Oh, yes. Right now when Sakura's mother entered, she had just completed the test. Sakura hugged her and smiled at her. Sakura grinned and gave Rina the test as she ate her bacon and eggs. Rina smiled back, asking, while you eat your breakfast, let me see the test. I told you I would support your decision. I want to see if your discussion is what I think it is. Are you willing to marry him and have children with him someday even if the villagers hate you him and them? Rina asked, quickly reviewing the test and noticing what she assumed she would. Sakura choked on her bacon for a moment when she blushed, then considered what her mother had said. Rina grinned and said, good, if my grandkids have half the heart their dad has, they should grow up to be good, kind people. She then replied, yes. Sakura immediately screamed, Mom. Then it hit her what she said and caused Sakura to turn bright red before she asked, so does that mean you will accept Naruto even though he had the Kyuubi sealed in him and almost everyone hates him? Rina nodded and said, yes, but I don't want you to tell him yet. I decided last night I want to make a point to this town to know where I stand on this, and I talked it over with Tsunade and Jiraiya while I was downstairs, and after they tried to make me see this won't be something easy but an uphill battle all the way. I support my idea completely. I had them go get Naruto, bring the papers I requested, a certain member of the community and some stuff from the house and bring him here so I can tell him what I decided. To make everything go as easy possible you are going to change a little at first and only in status. Sakura was confused at this and asked, what are you talking about, me changing my status, Mom? Rina smiled at this and said, you and him are getting engaged today to each other, do you accept? Sakura nodded yes and then fainted onto her bed. Rina went downstairs to carry the dishes to the kitchen after laughing. After about half an hour, Naruto dragged Jiraiya into the house while wearing a puzzled expression. Shizune was sent by Rina to wake Sakura and carry her to the front room. Everyone in the room, with the exception of Naruto, was grinning when Tsunade and the third Hokage entered shortly after. Rina gave them a quick glance and said, it's a go. Naruto was made to sit on one of the couches facing the other couch that Rina was occupying. She gave Jiraiya a nod, and he made a few hand gestures before slapping Naruto's neck in confusion. After that, he attempted to move but was unable. Sakura honey, I had Jiraiya paralyze him for a little while so he won't be able to run away. I get to question him for a little while in private and then you can tell him what you wanted to tell him, then we will tell what we discussed, okay? Rina said as Sakura and Shizune entered the room before he could say anything else. After attempting to move again, Naruto sighed and said, okay, I got a promise I want you to make. I want you to promise to tell me the truthful answer to the questions I ask no matter what. Rina then went on to say, Naruto, I was told you were the type of person that when he makes a promise he does everything he can to try and make it happen, is this correct? Naruto nodded, and Rina smiled, okay, before you answer the question listen to all of them first and don't give me no buts in the question, just answer them. I want to know, do you love my daughter? Are you willing to do anything for her? Are you willing to protect her and respect her always even if it means giving your life? Remember your promise? Naruto regarded her as insane and replied, yes, I love Sakura-chan. I have always and always will do anything for her. I am willing to go through any torture, pain or anything else to keep her safe, even my life, and I respect her more than life itself. Rina said, good. With a smile before leaving the room. Sakura grinned and entered the room with Naruto. A short while later Naruto was irrationally angry. He attempted to summon his chakra but was unsuccessful. Sakura grinned evilly and said, oh Naruto-kun, I don't think you will do that after we talk. She then sat down on the floor in front of him. He continued, saying, when I get out of this, that Pravit is getting his butt kicked from here to Wave Country and back. I have done a lot of thinking here lately, and I have come to a conclusion. You are going to have to live with it and not argue back. I love you with all my heart and nothing you say or do is going to change that. I don't care what the villagers say or do to me for it as long as you love me back. I know you want to protect me from harm, and what better place to do that than by my side. Sakura then looked into Naruto's eyes and said, I have done a lot of thinking here lately and I have come to a conclusion. You are going to have to live with it and not argue back. After a short while, someone cleared their throat, and the two swiftly parted as the room erupted in laughter. The third laughed so hard he turned beet red when Rina, who was laughing at the sight, turned to him and asked, was that good enough? He approached Naruto's seat after he had calmed down and said, Sakura, please sit next to him for a moment. I need to tell you both something. Sakura simply nodded and took a seat next to Naruto. Rina approached Sakura, handed her a 6-inch long square box, and instructed her to open it. When she did, she discovered 2 rings inside. She nodded and followed the third's instructions when he said, Sakura, would you please put a ring on Naruto's left ring finger? Jiraiya then followed Naruto, made a few hand gestures, and gave him another neck slap. Naruto screamed, "Oh, wwww," before the third interrupted, saying, Naruto, take the other ring and put it on Sakura's left hand on the same finger she put yours. Naruto appeared perplexed, but he followed instructions after realizing how many looks he was receiving and that his legs were still broken. With the exception of the third, practically everyone in the room took a few steps in the direction of an exit since they all knew what was about to happen. Then he took out a scroll, unrolled it slightly so that only the bottom was visible, and said, Naruto, please sign this, and then Sakura, you sign it also. They both did, and then the third put a stamp on it and said, Congratulations. Sakura and Naruto were both confused, so Naruto asked, Congratulations on what? The third laughed again and said, I was just congratulating the new Mr. and Mrs. Uzumaki. You may now kiss your bride. The third was counting down on his fingers, and by the time 3, 2, 1. was uttered simultaneously by Sakura and Naruto. Except for the newlyweds, everyone in the room was laughing. Rina came over and said, Since I knew how hard things were going to be for you both, as I am the legal guardian of Sakura since I am her mom and the third is the legal guardian of Naruto, we arranged for your marriage. Remember when I asked you about my daughter, that was your vow, and when Sakura told you how she loved her, that was her vows. The third, being the leader of the village, is allowed to marry anyone, and the rings are a sign of the agreement. You both even signed your marriage certificate, and the third already made it legal. Tsunade and Jiraiya already signed as witnesses. I know we tricked you, but in the end it would have worked out the same. Now you know where you stand. Jiraiya spoke then and said, Naruto, you and Sakura are living here in your family estate. You can tell whoever you want while we were doing this, since you two are probably close to being the strongest in the village. We have some of our most trusted people passing out information on the truth of the Kyuubi attack, who your dad was, why you were chosen, and that any threat, attack, or act of violence against you or your family land or property is punishable by death. The third spoke then. I pulled out an old law put in place by the first and second stating that any Hokage or heirs, spouses of Hokage who is threatened or harm the offender's person or property is punishable by death and or immediate seizure of all assets. So if anyone messes with you now, you have the law covering you more. I could not do that for you before because your dad asked your name to be sected until you could protect yourself. Now you can also. After the Chunin exam, win or lose, I will be stepping down as Hokage and Tsunade will be the fifth. I have already informed the council of her being the next Hokage. Also me, Tsunade and Jiraiya have discussed it, and after this threat is over, when she is ready to step down, you Naruto will be the sixth. We are going to keep that quiet until time is ready about you Naruto, but you have to live through this and protect everyone you can. That is my wedding present to you, sixth Hokage, Tsunade said, putting her necklace around Naruto's neck and kissing him on the forehead. Congratulations, keep him in line. Sakura was speechless. When Naruto asked, is this a dream? Am I in heaven, or is this real? Sakura flashed her evil grin once more and gave him her most passionate kiss. Rina said, look, I know you two are married, but I have 2 questions. First, is it okay if I move in with you? My house will be lonely without Sakura here. Secondly, please wait to make me a grandma for at least 3 years when Sakura turns 16. Naruto tapped his neck and performed some hand seals to allow him to move his legs. Then, wearing his foxy grin, he got up and extended his hand to Sakura. Sakura accepted it and got to her feet. After glancing at Sakura, Naruto said, well, honey, I don't mind my new mother-in-law moving in. He kissed her briefly and received a menacing smile before saying, I'll take the 2 old perverts. You can handle all the ladies, dear, but let's try not to destroy our new home. Naruto then pursued Jiraiya and the third, who fled out the door, while making 1,000 clones in the process as she cracked her knuckles and followed in the footsteps of her mother and Tsunade. Sakura turned to Shizune and said, "You're safe, the other two are coming with me for a little chat." A white summoned fox materialized in front of Naruto approximately half an hour after he and Sakura had calmed down from pursuing their targets and the house seals had repaired all the damage. The fox said, "Lord Naruto, Kakashi sent me saying they will be back in the village in a little over an hour. Please have Sunda Jiraiya and the third meet him at the Hokage office. He says there has been an incident that need to be discussed." The fox then vanished into a puff of smoke. Sakura said, "Okay. But after this is over today I think me and you need to have a little talk, lover boy, I mean honey." Naruto sighed and used the Gemini Battle Link Jutsu to tell Sakura, "Sakura-chan, I know you were probably having fun but the Kakashi just sent a messenger fox and it said he needed to meet at the Hokage office. Get Tsunade and I will get the third and the pervert." Both Sakura and Naruto blushed. "I need you to corner the third Hokage and the pervert for me but don't harm them. I need you to tell them something. Tell them Kakashi needs us," Naruto said. Calling forth the two foxes he had tracked down Gato for him. Both foxes bowed and replied, "Yes, Lord Naruto." The two foxes then set out to find Jiraiya and the third. Sasuke was unconscious when he and Kakashi got to the Hokage office. Tsunade started examining him right away and said, "Chakra exhaustion, other than that he should be okay." Naruto examined him and said, "Kakashi, you remember what I said about assassination techniques, right?" Kakashi, who was reading his book, said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something?" Sakura went right away and restrained Naruto before he could harm Kakashi. When Naruto was done, Kakashi said, "Don't worry, I did not teach him Chidori. But he has made it to the third level of his Sharingan now and has copied nearly 250 jutsu. He has come up with one on his own that he was trying to perfect before we got back. I did not know about it until right before he passed out from exhaustion. I don't know what he calls it since I only saw the immediate attack and results of it. I don't even know the hand seals if there even are some. It is similar to the Chidori but instead of lightning based it's fire based. I showed him Chidori at the beginning of our training as bait to make him greedy for it. I am guessing he used it as a model for this attack. The 40-foot wide boulder he hit with it was turned into billions of shards of glass." When Naruto's chair toppled over backwards and he was on his knees, trembling, Kakashi interrupted as everyone else in the room stared at him. Sakura became concerned for him and began to hold him. "Naruto, what is it? What's wrong? What happened?" Sakura inquired. Naruto was looking at his hands shaking and he said, "Amethyst, that attack is called amethyst. I always thought the snake taught him that attack. The first time I saw that attack was after he was with the snake. He walked into the middle of a village at the border of fire and sound territory. He used it by striking it into the ground. When he did, the entire village turned to glass within moments before it exploded. After the ABNU got to the village there was only one person standing in the village, Sasuke. Every other person had been cut to pieces by that one attack. Every building was destroyed. Everything was gone except for the pieces of bodies, blood and glass. It was powerful enough to kill 3,000 people in one attack. The ABNU tried to capture him but he killed 3 of them with Chidori and broke the spine of the 4th so he would never walk Aegean. He told the ABNU that he was left alive so he could deliver a message. He wanted to test how far he had come since he left the village. He wanted to test his strength against me since he already knew I was equal to him in power after we fought at the Valley of the Ends. Jiraiya and I came across the town 3 days later and we took the ABNU back here. He told us the message and Tsunade he said he would meet on the bridge in Wave Country. We fought because he used the village as a bargaining chip. If I did not fight him with everything I had he said he would use that attack on that village. I beat him but before I could capture him the snake took him Aegean. I only have one attack more deadly than that one right now. I don't have the control of physical strength to use that attack. I have one jutsu that can contain it but anything inside of my jutsu shield would be destroyed by that attack. If it is used at full strength it is equal to me using 7 of the 9 tails. He did that massacre without the use of the curse mark power. It was why the council had changed the orders on his wanted poster from capture to be killed on sight. If he used it with the power of the curse mark at the center of this village nothing would be left. I honestly thought the snake taught him that. I never would have imagined he created it on his own." Naruto was crying now from remembering it. Everybody in the room turned to stare at Sasuke, who was dozing off on the floor. Nobody was eager to speak. The third said, "We have to make sure he won't have a reason to use that attack on us. Naruto, you and your wife Sakura," after everyone had given it some thought. Kakashi then interrupted, asking, "Wife, when did that happen?" As he glanced at Sakura and Naruto and noticed the rings on their fingers, Sakura was the first to respond, sounding defensive. "This morning, you got a problem with that?" she said, getting to her feet and clenching her lips. No, I just wish I could have been here to see it is all. Congratulations, I hope you both have a happy life together." Sakura calmed down as Kakashi waved his hands in front of him. Naruto spoke at that point and stated, "I think we should continue with reuniting Team 7 and hope we can prevent the snake from getting his hands on Sasuke. Sakura and I will have to hold back a lot on our power around Sasuke so he won't suspect. Kakashi-sensei, I am going to need you to make it seem as reasonable as you can. Hopefully nothing will happen to tip him off. Also Kakashi, Zabuza and his adoptive son Haku are here now. We got both of them to join, but they only know I have a demon. Everything else is pretty much secret." Sakura responded, "I think Naruto is right about Team 7 reuniting. I don't like the idea of us having to play down our strength though. Does anyone have any ideas to help with that?" The third then said, "I agree to Team 7 reuniting since you need 3 to get into the Chunin exams. Naruto and Sakura, you both are pretty much Sannin level as it stand right now. You both have huge reserves of jutsu and strength. If we can kill Orochimaru, one of you will most likely label the new Sannin. I don't want you to compete for that title though, because your true strength is when you fight together, joined with your unique relationship. Also the council will probably want me to make a new one as quickly as possible, so I don't want either of you thinking you're better than the other. You are about equal in unique ways, much like the first 3 where you could be the strongest dual team in history. Though I know it is wrong for us to do this, but I only want you to hold back for now any just you above Chunin level, with the exception of Kage Bunshin, since Sasuke has already seen that one used by Naruto as for a cover story to tell him." The third was interrupted at this point. Sasuke moaned a little and woke up. Tsunade assisted him in getting into a chair and standing up. Sasuke looks around the room and shakes his head briefly as she says, "You're lucky to be alive using so much chakra in an attack like that." He notices Sakura and Naruto standing across the room. Kakashi stands in front of the desk of the Hokage. In the corner is a strange-looking man with white hair. One of the women who assisted him is standing next to him, while the other is seated behind his desk. He then asks, "What's going on here?" The third smiles at him and responds, "Today Team 7 is being reunited. Sasuke Uchiha. Your 2 teammates are here at my request with their temporary sensei while you were being solo trained by Kakashi." Sasuke hatefully looks at Sakura and Naruto and says, "Great, just what I need, the dead last of the class and a fangirl to hold me back. No offense, but I refuse. They are not worth my time and I don't care who their senseis are. No one could help pathetic weaklings like them." As Sakura and Naruto prepared to harm him, Jiraiya stepped forward and said, "I am Jiraiya and the lovely lady by your side right now is Tsunade. We are 2 of the 3 legendary Sannins and we have been teaching these 2 together while you were being solo trained by Kakashi as a favor to the third." Sasuke leapt to his feet and questioned, "Why did you give the baka over there a chance to be trained by a legendary Sannin? You should have had them train me to do that." Tsunade had had enough of his attitude and struck him in the head, knocking him to the ground. When he first appeared, he began going through hand seals. After the 10th one, Naruto recognized the jutsu, so he used Shushin to appear in front of Sasuke and strike him in the face, knocking him unconscious and sending him crashing into the wall behind him. Before anyone could say anything, Naruto yelled, "You stupid idiot." The third then asked in a concerned voice, "Naruto, why did you hit him just now? I know you don't like him and he made you mad, is that why?" Naruto shook his head no and said, "No, I recognized the hand sign he was doing. If he would have gotten 3 more sign done, Tsunade would have died. Those were the sign for Amethyst. I did not want to reveal Shushin, but it was the only way I could get to him in time to stop the attack. If he would have missed Tsunade and made contact with anything in this room, it would have been like an explosive going off in here and we might have all been killed." The third sighed and said, "I understand, Naruto. Sorry for doubting you for a moment. Thank you for stopping him. Kakashi, I want you to work on his temper. If you can try to get him away from that technique, if you can teach him some Chunin level techniques to persuade him for a while." Tsunade walked up behind Naruto and gave him a hug and said, "Thank you." Naruto just replied, "No problem, but I just made things a lot more complicated. No, he knows I am a threat in power and he is going to try to get strong enough to beat me. He is also going to try and copy every jutsu he can from everyone, especially those of us in this office right now. Simple fact, everyone in this office could take on a small army and walk away alive. We are probably among the strongest in the village. I suggest any higher level jutsu we get taught should be at the compound, since Sasuke does not have access to it. Also, any high-level attacks me or Sakura use should be ones that require no hand signs or those that require demon chakra to use beside lower-level chunin. Kakashi, I will give you access to it later, but you need to make sure Sasuke is never around when you come. You probably know how to get by the old seal's dad left there, but I put one of my own to limit it even more. I got to add Sakura's mom anyways, so I will add you as well then. Is Thea or anyone else we trust enough? I was thinking the entire Rookie 9 and Gia team and senseis, but I would like to wait till after the Chunin exam in 2 weeks. What do you think, Sakura? Yeah, I think that would work. After that we will know where we stand with Sasuke and that snake. Sakura said. The third replied, I agree with you. Plan Naruto, let's revive Sasuke now so you can go through some bonding since you have to do 8 missions in between now and the next 10 days. That is when our guests start arriving. Also Naruto, I wish to discuss your plans for that boy from Sand before he arrives. Tsunade, let me put that paralyzed jutsu on him before you revive him, Jiraiya replied. Jiraiya paralyzed Sasuke as they had Naruto earlier, and Tsunade woke him up after assisting Jiraiya in picking him up and placing him in a chair. Hey Dobi, tell me now, how did you got in front of me and hit me so hard so quick? Tell me, and whatever you did to me you better release it. I demanded. Sasuke demanded. Looking at Naruto, the third person said, I would be careful what you demand, Uchiha Sasuke. Attacking a Sannin and the next Hokage is not only stupid and suicidal, you can be arrested for it. If you try that again, I will have you arrested and put in jail till I feel you learned your lesson. I don't care if you are the last Uchiha in this village now. As I was saying, Team 7 for now is together Aegean, since you need 3 people to take the Chunin exam, and that is if you each choose to take it. Also Kakashi has to nominate all 3 of you, so your best bet is teamwork. Since all 3 of you have 1 higher level mission under you, you only have 8 more to do in the next 10 days, that is all. Then, meet tomorrow morning at 8 AM where we had the bell test. He then vanished in. Sakura grinned and replied, yeah, I didn't get much to eat with all the excitement this morning, so why not? Naruto sighed and said, well, if that's it for today. You want to get some ramen with me, Sakura-chan? They then began to leave. You ready to go? We still need to finish planning our wedding. Jiraiya said, releasing Sasuke, and walked over to Tsunade. They then walked off hand in hand. Sasuke looked at the third and said, you never did say why you let an idiot like Naruto and that fangirl train under 2 of the 3 great Sanins when you should have let them train me. I am an Uchiha, which was and will be one of the most powerful clans in this village. Aegean. Well, the third grinned and replied, boy, I don't know what you think gives you the right to act like you're my boss. I am still the Hokage of this village and I don't have to answer your questions, so if you are smart you will leave before I have you thrown out. And then the third began to complete his papers. Sasuke left to ask Naruto and Sakura for an explanation after realizing he would not respond. Naruto and Sakura were walking on their way to Ichiraku to get some ramen when Naruto said, Sakura-chan, today has been one unreal day. Sakura laughed and said, Naruto-kun, what you just said is probably the biggest understatement in the world. Naruto smiled and said, so, how do you want to do this? I mean, I am still trying to figure out what all that happened today is going to change. My outlook on life is different now than it was when I woke up this morning. For the first time in this life I am truly happy and scared. What about you? Sakura smiled and said, well, I admit that today has been a really unique. I mean, I woke up trying to make sure how I felt for you. Then after looking at things from a different direction thanks to my mom, I was able to understand what I felt. Then when I realized what I would do to keep you in my life forever, I gladly accepted it. Then I thought when you got there this morning it was just going to be the arranging the marriage. Turns out we both got surprised on that one, but I could not be happier. Naruto watched her as she was saying this and then said, if you had a chance to back out of it, no, would you? Not on your life, Sakura said. Naruto continued, well, I see one thing we need to discuss for now because I got the feeling it might pop up today. If someone asks about our relationship, what do you want to do? I mean, once it becomes public there is no taking it back. I am not ashamed of it, in fact I love it, but I don't want to tell anyone until you are ready. Sakura grinned and replied, then I guess we should go and tell everyone who is important to us after we eat. Naruto let out a breath and replied, thank you for being here for me, Sakura-chan. I wanted to make you happy for as long as I could remember, and now I have a chance for the rest of our lives. Hello Aegean. Naruto, I will be with you in a moment, the proprietor said as he approached to serve another customer. When they arrived at Ichiraku, Naruto looked at Sakura and then at Sasuke, saying, do you mind? I am trying to have a nice meal with a very special person. At that point, Sasuke approached Naruto and struck him across the back of the head, saying, I want answer. Dobi, why did you both get trained by members of the legendary 3? Sasuke was incensed that Naruto had just blown him off like that. He said, "Please, you are only taking out your teammate, and if you are doing that you should be treating me also." Naruto turned back to him and said, "Sasuke, do you mind? I am on a date here with a very beautiful woman and I would appreciate it if you would quit ruining it for us. Believe it or not, the world does not evolve around you." He then turned back to Sakura to continue their conversation, but before he grabbed Naruto by the arm, spun him around, and pointed his finger at him, saying, "You are crazy. There is no way a fangirl would ever want to go on a date with you. So cut the bull. I have a better chance of going with someone like her than you ever would. I could have any woman in this village. Now answer my question." Naruto did not even speak to Sasuke before turning back to Sakura. At that moment, the proprietor reappeared and said, "I apologize for keeping you waiting, Naruto. What would you like?" Naruto replied, "That's okay, I'd like one chicken ramen." The proprietor then turned to face Sakura and said, "I believe you were here with Naruto a little more than a month ago. What would you like?" Sakura grinned and replied, "Yeah, my name is Sakura, but it's Uzumaki now, and I would like one vegetable ramen, please." The proprietor grinned and said, "Congratulations, when did you two get married?" "What do you mean married? What? You could not stand the competition for me, so you lowered your standards to DEADLAST, screamed Sasuke, who was visibly upset by this. When Sakura had had enough, she got up, grabbed Sasuke by the shirt, and yelled, "You know what, Sasuke? He is a lot better than you. Matter of fact, Roadkill is better than you. He's right. The world does not evolve around you, and you need to learn that, or you might one day find out your hopes of never having to have to rebuild your clan would be up as smoke. So if you do not mind, we are trying to have a nice lunch together. Goodbye." He stood up, brushed himself off, and left. Sakura sat down again, counted to 10, and said, "Sorry, I hope you're not mad at me for throwing a potential customer out of here. If you want, we could leave." The owner turned to face her, then to Naruto, and said, "Now why would I do that to my favorite customer and his wife? By the way, I still would like to know when you got married." Sakura grinned at him and said, "Thank you. Well, as it turned out, we got married this morning. It was sort of a surprise, but one we are thankful for it. In fact, aside from the third, my mom, Shizune, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, we told right before we came here, and you are the first we told after we eat. We were going to tell all of our friends." The owner grinned. "Well, as a wedding gift to you both, your meal is free." After they had finished their meal, Naruto said, "I would like to get to Iruka and tell him. He was one of the first people to ever see me for me, and I would like to tell him personally if you don't mind, Sakura." Sakura responded, "Sure, Naruto-kun, I would like to tell Ino after that, okay?" Naruto stopped and began feeling on his head, and after he patted it a few times, Sakura asked, "What's wrong?" Naruto grinned and said, "I just wanted to make sure I had my head protector for the screaming that was coming." Sakura stared at him for a moment before realizing what he was talking about and began making sure she had her own. She continued, "Good idea. I am glad you reminded me. Let's go to the academy and tell Iruka." Ino caught sight of Sasuke as he strode toward the Uchiha compound. She was getting bored because she hadn't had an opportunity to fight Sakura in a long time, so she checked to see if she was nearby. In an attempt to make fun of him, she followed him and said, "Sasuke, Sasuke, where you going? Come on, wait, I want to talk to you." Sasuke paused to identify the person. "Sasuke, what's wrong? You look mad. Did Forehead Girl make you mad, Aegean, or something?" Ino responded after being made fun of. Sasuke yelled, "What should I care what Uzumaki says or does after the way I was treated? I could care less. Leave me alone, you banshee, you're annoying," and stomped off to go home. Ino was perplexed and believed that I had never mentioned Naruto, banshee, or annoying. What a jerk. After that, she went back to her family's flower shop. When Naruto and Sakura arrived, Iruka was in the teacher's lounge grading papers with Anko. Anko began eyeing them when she noticed something, then grinned evilly and said, "Hey Iruka, you noticed something new about both of them?" Naruto grinned and said, "Hey Iruka sensei, hey Anko, how are you both doing today?" Iruka grinned and said, "We're doing fine, have a seat. What brings you both here today?" When Naruto said, "That's what we came to see you about today, Iruka, you see we." Anko slapped her hand against her head. "Don't tell him yet, Sonny. I want to see his entire face for this one. By the way, I'm proud of you, brat." She then approached Naruto and Sakura from behind, hugged them both, and said, "Look closely." It took several seconds for Iruka to notice the rings and inquire, "What? They have matching rings, what's so special about that?" This time, Sakura slapped her head and said, "Iruka, how in the world did you become a teacher if you can't figure out?" Anko interrupted, saying, "They're engaged?" Naruto then grinned and replied, "Nope." Anko looked at him and Iruka for a moment before Sakura added, "We're married." At that point, the room fell silent. WWWWHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHH Iruka and Anko. Iruka then asked, "What do you mean married, when, how?" Sakura replied, "My mom and the third arranged it and surprised married us this morning." Anko then asked, "What do you mean surprised married you and how come we were not there?" They then talked about how they got married without having a chance to invite them for 20 minutes before Iruka asked, "Are you both happy?" They exchanged glances before responding, "Yes." Anko asked Iruka, "So when are you going to get around to asking me to marry you?" Before leaning forward and planting a kiss on him after they had departed. When Sakura entered the Yamanko flower shop after Naruto arrived, he started to enter but stopped outside the door. Sakura gave him a perplexed look in return, but she could tell by his expression that he was scared of stirring up trouble inside. She took a step back, took hold of his arm, and dragged him in behind. Naruto said, "Hello Ino. How are you today?" As they approached the counter where Ino was seated after they had entered still trying to figure out what was wrong with Sasuke. Ino looked up from her magazine. She then saw Sakura and responded, "Hey forehead girl. Guess what I seen Sasuke today and he was upset with the baka there. What did he do to Sasuke?" After a moment of confusion, Sakura said, "What are you talking about?" "Naruto-kun hasn't done anything to Sasuke today. When he left us, I threw him on his butt at Ichiraku ramen stand." Ino was perplexed and said, "That's strange. When I asked if you had made him mad he said he did not care what Uzumaki says or does after the way he was treated." Sakura and Naruto both laughed at this, and Ino looked at them before asking, "What's so funny about what I said about Naruto and Sasuke?" Sakura replied, "I will tell her. She is going to get a kick out of this. Ino, can me and you go up to your room a minute. You might fall down laughing after I tell you what happened." Ino said, "Okay. Let me get my dad to come look after the store. You can stay here." Naruto dad come down for a moment. Then Ino said, "Dad, Sakura needs to talk to me alone for a moment. Can you take over for me?" He replied, "Sure. Just hurry back." As Ino and Sakura went upstairs, Ino's father turned to face Naruto and asked, "So, Naruto, what brings the two of you here today?" Naruto grinned and asked, "Is it okay for me to be here for a few minutes? I don't want to cause any problems." Inochi grinned, "Naruto, I am one of the few who respect you, don't worry about it." Naruto grinned and said, "You got some earplugs and a camera. This is going to be a picture moment, if I know Ino any. I have a camera right here, and I never take my earplugs out when I'm around," Ino dad said. "Take a picture of her when she runs downstairs, it will be priceless." "Why, I'll have it ready." Naruto just smiled and said, "Wait." A few moments later you could hear Ino scream, "W what?" Then you could hear footsteps coming down the stairs fast. Ino dad got his camera ready and when she cleared the stairs he took a picture. Ino never saw the flash. She was heading straight for Naruto and jumped on him in a hug, knocking them both to the ground. Sakura came downstairs a few steps behind her. When she saw Ino tackle Naruto to the ground, Sakura said, "Ino, get your hands off my husband." Ino dad, who was laughing at the sight of Ino tackling Naruto, dropped his camera when he heard Sakura. He then stuttered, "HHUU husband." After Sakura and Naruto informed Ino's family about the wedding, Ino's father remarked, "I've heard it all. It is the first time I have ever heard of a bride and groom not knowing they were getting married until after the wedding, even though I assumed I had witnessed every kind of wedding imaginable." Then Ino said, "Naruto, you better take care of Sakura and keep her happy and safe." Naruto grinned feistily and said, "I would do everything in my power, including give my life for her. I have to say it was a unique way of getting married." Ino blushed and said, "I don't know what you're talking about, I like Sasuke." Ino's dad said, "Shoji huh," while grinning and massaging his chin. Naruto and Sakura both laughed. Then Naruto said, "I think if we leave no we might find Team Gia before they finish training. Are you ready to go, Sakura-chan? Or do you want to stay more?" Sakura sighed and replied, "You're right, Naruto-kun. If we want to tell all of our friends then we better get going." Ino leapt to his feet and said, "Don't worry about Choji and Shikamaru. We can tell them tonight when we have that picnic at Choji's house tonight." Sakura said, "Thanks, Ino." While searching for Team Gia, Naruto paused and said, "UOCCCCRRRRAAAPPPP. I just remember something, we got to find her first or she might kill herself." Sakura turned to face him and asked, "Who are you talking about?" Naruto then turned to her and said, "Hinata, I became good friends with her before she was expelled by her family. After we became friends, she said she used to worship me like a hero and she had a crush on me. I just thought she might be upset and hurt her confidence. Sakura kissed Naruto and said, "You really are a nice sweet Gia who looks after his friends. Let's find Hinata first." Her team and the Gia's team were sparring together when they discovered Hinata. Naruto approached Gia and Karina as he left. Gia said, "I'll keep the teams busy so you can talk." Naruto said, "Karina, can I talk to you for a moment in private? It's something that will affect Hinata, but afterwards I have an announcement for both teams." She nodded. Sakura informed Karina that something happened today that might crush Hinata, but Naruto thinks he can help her if she does not run off before he gets a chance to. Karina was concerned about the direction this conversation was taking and inquired, "What happened?" Naruto responded, "This morning Sakura and I sort of got a surprise marriage, and I know during this time Hinata has a hero crush on me. I know Kiba loves her, and after she originally got kicked out him and her became a couple, she thinks she loves me because I inspire her to get stronger, but all we were and are as good friends, and I want to tell her, so I need your help doing it before we tell everyone here about the marriage." "That, I understand, and I can't wait to hear how the surprise wedding went down. I'll call Hinata and Neji over since they have gotten closer over the past few weeks." When Neji and Hinata came over with Karina and they sat down except Naruto, he said, "The reason I asked to speak with you and Neji is something happened today and I want you to understand what is going on, so please stay here and listen till I finish." "Neji, you are here as a sign of respect for you and your family. Hinata, I know how you feel for me right now, and you think because I inspire you to become stronger, you think that inspiration is love and that you love me. I want you to know that it is not actual love but friendship created out of the pain we both went through when we were younger. I know you see me as everything you want to be, but that is just a true form of respect and friendship. I know it hurts to say that now, but you are a very smart person and you know I don't lie. I respect you as a person and a shinobi as being one of the strongest if you just have a little more confidence. Also, there is someone who does love you very close to you if you just step back and look at him. No matter what, I will be your friend, and if you ever need anything I will do anything I can to help. Do you understand, Hinata?" Hinata was crying for a few minutes, but when she stopped she said, "I guess you're right, Naruto-kun. I always told myself what I felt for you was love, but I see it was respect. I will still grow stronger for me and try to show you I am worthy of your friendship. Thank you for helping me see the truth, and I will listen to every word you said, my friend." Sakura said, "Well, I guess we can tell everyone what happened in a group. We wanted to prepare you first for the shock because Naruto remembered the respect you had for him in the other timeline and he wanted to keep you as one of his friends and special people, so that's why we asked to speak with you first." After Karina and Gia had their teams sit down, Naruto said, "Lee, before Sakura tells everyone what's going on, I need to put a restraint just you on you so your power of your youth does not break anyone's bones or kill someone, okay?" Lee replied, "Yes, my friend of youth. The wisdom you show us will be the true light of our passion of youth." "You?" To allow them to speak, Tenten was confused, but she gave it to him, and he activated the seal Naruto had placed on it for her. Neji glanced at Sakura and Naruto and then said, "Oh, HHHHCCCCCRRRRAPPPP. I think I know what's fixing to be said. Tenten, can I borrow your head protector for a moment?" Naruto smiled and Sakura then smiled and said, "Today my mom and the third sort of tricked me and Naruto. See, I finally figured out how I felt for him after some time thinking, and I told my mom. She did not tell me until it was too late. She was going to arrange a marriage between me and Naruto, but she wanted me to tell him how I truly felt. But before I did, she played 20 question on Naruto after making him promise to tell the truth, and Jiraiya used a paralyze just you to keep him from escaping during the questions. After they released him and I told him how I felt, the third walked back into the room and had assigned something we thought was for a mission, and he put his seal on it. My mom then walked in and said she wanted us to try these rings on to see if they fit. I thought it was for our engagement before she was going to tell Naruto about the arrangement. After we slipped them on each other, the third said congratulations. When we asked what he was congratulating us on, he said for being the new Mr. and Mrs. Uzumaki. The paper we signed was our marriage certificate, and when we told each other how we truly felt were our vow wills. And we had already kissed, so that sealed the deal, so that's what we wanted to tell you. Naruto-kun, you can release Lee no. Ten then said, "Oh, After Naruto released Lee said, "Oh my eternal rival, you have beat me for the love of the lovely Sakura. I won't lose our next rivalry." When Lee was done, Neji handed Tenten back her headband and said, "Thanks." Tenten then released why Neji wanted it and said, "That's it Neji, you're going down." She pulled out 4 weapon scrolls, summoned her weapons and started throwing over 5,000 axes, knives, maces, kunai, and shurikens, cussing Neji for wanting to protect his hearing from hers and Lee's screams. "Take good care of my friend for me or you will have to deal with me," Hinata said as she approached Sakura, hugged her, and then congratulated Naruto. Following everyone's departure, Naruto escorted Sakura to the Hokage monument, where they sat and celebrated the sunset together. Sakura smiled and kissed him, saying, "I don't know, it's not over yet." Naruto then asked, "So what do you think of your first day as Mrs. Uzumaki?" They necked each other a little before leaving for home. When they got home, Rina, Shizune, Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at them and Rina smiled and said, "By the look of your neck, dear, you might make me a grandma sooner than later." Naruto and Sakura both blushed and Tsunade and Shizune said, "Don't worry, we got that covered upstairs in the Grandmaster bedroom, but you both might want to take it slow at first by getting used to each other first." Naruto smiled and said, "I know me and Sakura-chan are married, no, but I respect her also. I know it's not healthy for her to chance a child at this time and age. If she wants, we can keep our own room until we are older, I will gladly accept that, but if she wants to share a room and or bed, I would still gladly accept that, but I am sleeping with a sheet between us and I am not doing anything that would put her health at risk, so as far as I am willing to go is what we already did, and that was necking. Sakura-chan is so important to me, I can wait to carry our relationship farther. So in other words, no pervert stuff." Jiraiya said, "Party pooper," but all 4 women went and said, "Ooh, how sweat." Rina said, "Honey, you definitely have a keeper, so what are you going to do?" Sakura smiled and said, "I don't want to be away from him any more than I have to, so we will share a bed, but I agree with him. I am not ready for children yet, so we agree there." Tsunade looked at Naruto and asked, "So exactly how do you know the risk of childbearing on younger women?" Naruto smiled and said, "The one rule you made immediately after becoming Hokage was all academy students. Male and female had to learn it, and you drilled it into mine and Sakura's head so much, you made us both teach the class. Anytime a student or me was not paying attention, Sakura used her super strength and sent me through the floor. She told all the Jias she would teach any girl that got pregnant under the age of 16 the secret of that super strength so they could return the pain. Needless to say, the number of girls under 16 that became pregnant before you went from an average of 5 per class to 1 out of every 6 classes. Everyone laughed at that until Tsunade said, "Well, let's see if I can make it 1 out of every 12 classes this time." Naruto said, "Please use anyone but me as a target dummy for that class this time, please. See, I won't ever call you old lady Aegean." Everyone burst out laughing. Aegean. When Naruto woke up the following morning, he tried to turn in bed but was unable to do so, and when he turned his head to his left, he saw pink hair on his chest. He began to question whether this was a dream or something else, but then everything that had happened the day before came flooding back into his mind, and he realized it was not a dream. He lay there for a moment before being abruptly drawn into his mindscape. "Kid, congratulations, I'm happy for you." Naruto looked at the fox and said, "I think I know what you're talking about, so I will try to get it to happen, but for now I want to spend a little time looking at my wife sleeping, enjoying the peace and quiet." Naruto said, "I know that you don't want to think about it right now, but before you and your new mate leave to start preparing for the upcoming battles today, I think you both might bring me and IP3 out so I can help you know what to expect." Naruto then returned to the normal world, and he lay there for what seemed like hours just enjoying the way she smelled, the way her eyes fluttered while she slept, the way her breathing was calm and peaceful, and the way her body heat felt next to his chest and arm. After about 20 minutes, Sakura began to move in her bed, and when she noticed Naruto lying next to her, she lifted her head slightly. Naruto said, "Good morning, Sakura-chan." "How?" Sakura began to freak out. She couldn't remember what had happened at first, so what did she do? She grabbed Naruto by his shirt and threw him against the wall, knocking him unconscious, and screamed, "What are you doing in my bed, Naru?" Then she remembered everything that had happened the day before, and she jumped to her feet, still on the bed, and attempted to run to his side, but her feet became tangled in the covers, and she fell on him, knocking her unconscious in the process. When she woke up, she was in Naruto's arms, and he was removing her hair from her face, asking, "Are you okay, Sakura-chan?" "Of course I am, but what about you?" "I'm sorry for freaking out when I woke up, and I'll try not to do that again," she said. Glancing at him, it will probably take some time to get used to being together. Naruto grinned and kissed her on the lips, saying, I love you too, Sakura-chan. Good morning. They then shared another kiss and began preparing for the day in different rooms. I love you, Naruto-kun. Rina and Shizune looked at one another, and Rina asked, do you need us to leave or is it alright for us to stay? Naruto remembered what Kyuubi had said earlier and said, Sakura, Kyuubi said he wanted to talk to you and me about something. He also said you might want to bring Ip3 out so she can talk also. They were eating breakfast that Shizune and Rina had prepared when they came downstairs. Honora, I don't mind if it's okay with Sakura-chan if that's what I think it's about. Rina grinned and said, Naruto, we're family now. You can drop the Mrs. Honora, just call me Mom or Rina. Sakura grinned and pulled out her iPhone 3. Naruto then pulled out Kyuubi, who said, okay, Fuzzball, what did you want to talk about? Kyuubi laughed and said, hello to you too, Kit. Alright. Let me start by congratulating you both, which is why I asked to speak with you. Second, I wanted to let you both know what you might anticipate because Rina recently brought up children. I've had plenty of time to go through all of my memories and tell you what I can. In some ways, your children will have a bloodline even if Naruto does not inherit my last tale. Their sensei's taste, touch, sight, sound, and smell will most likely be improved. Additionally, they will possess superhuman stamina and chakra capacity, improved recovery and resistance to certain poisons. There may be additional advantages, however. They may have some physical characteristics that set them apart, like slitted eyes, a blue and red chakra mixture that, like Naruto, means they will struggle to control their chakras, so you will need to put in more effort to get that right. They may also have more pointed ears and red hair mixed in with their natural color. Everyone in the room turned to Kyuubi, and he said, there is one other unique trait that could appear at one of 3 different times. Naruto paused there for a moment to process the fact that he had transformed, growing a tail when he used his demonic chakra. He then asked, what about the other unique trait I get when I only use your chakra? Tail or tails, that is they may be born with one or more. Sakura will experience some discomfort, but it won't be life-threatening because of her already improved healing from the memory transfer and blood mixing. The last time a tail may appear is when the child or children reach puberty. If this occurs, the number of tails will increase in proportion to the child's strength. Another instance is when they use their chakra, which may be made of chakra. Together, you should write a scroll that explains everything to the next generation of your family. They may not have a tail at all, or any or all of them may be genuine or created by chakra. There's another thing. 2 twins or triplets may be possible due to Sakura's increased likelihood of having multiple children at once due to my influence on the Naruto body, but she also benefits uniquely from this. She has the authority to choose their gender before the 5th month of pregnancy. It will be random if she doesn't select in order to give her body time to return to normal. She will also be unable to have children for at least 2 years after giving birth. That's all I could think of, with the possible exception of the fact that childbirth won't be any more risky than a typical one and the potential for multiple births. I'm not claiming that those will be the only advantages or distinctive characteristics. I simply wanted to let you know what to anticipate should you choose to have children. Additionally, Sakura, I hate to tell you this, but your chakra control will be messed up for the first year after giving birth. You will go from having almost no chakra to having double chakra in a matter of seconds. To regain your chakra control and get back in shape, you might want to take a year off from teaching, office work, or D-rank missions. Are there any side effects on Naruto, and how many tails can we expect at most? Shizune was the first to ask. Naruto will have a small chakra drain during each attempt at initial conception due to the loss of some demonic chakra to ensure any children conceived would be safe. Regarding the number of tails, I say that it will depend on the child's strength. Everyone looked at Kyuubi with great interest when Naruto asked, what would happen if one gets a 10th tail? Kyuubi considered this for a moment before responding, it is a legend in the demon world where summons live. I say no more than 9, but if one should get a 10th tail. Even by demon standards, it's ancient, so I don't recall everything, but if a creature ever developed 10 tails, I don't remember it all. However, it has never occurred. Sakura appeared perplexed, and Ip3 asked, Q, what would that person or creature become the ruler of? Kyuubi considered his response and replied, everything, the demon world, the human world, nature, even life and death. Every animal, plant, and creature would be under its control if someone ever acquired a 10th tail. That individual would control everything, good or bad. He would live indefinitely or until another 10 tail appeared and challenged him, killing him if the person was pure evil, pure good, or a combination of the two. Unless challenged by another 10-tail, a 10-tail would be immortal. In that case, the winner would be the one who can totally destroy the other. That's all I can recall about the legend, but it's unlikely to ever come to pass. Nevertheless, I felt I should at least bring it up. In fact, that may be Akatsuki's intention, but if so, I'm not sure how human could have learned about it. Naruto glanced at everyone before pausing to say, as far as I can tell, you are the first humans to ever hear of this legend. I want you to know, Sakura, that no matter what you decide, I support you, he said. I will always love you regardless of whether you choose to have children with me or not. I am aware that you have already had to make some changes in your life in order to be with me, and you have no idea how much I appreciate that you did, even though it is sad that you had to make the sacrifice. I will never make you do anything you are not willing or ready to do. I love you. As Sakura grinned and approached him, kissed him, and said, you still are not getting rid of me that easy, my little fox. Ip3 looked at Kyuubi and said, oh Q, want to have that dinner you promised me, or do I need to make me a fur coat? Kyuubi paled, got down on his hands and knees, and said, just tell me what you want, I'll do anything, just please, oh please don't bring out your little friends again. Sakura and Naruto laughed, and Ip3 grinned and began to make a list. Rina and Shizune exchanged a sweat drop, and then Shizune said, I wonder what Ip3 did to the nine-tailed demon lord to make him beg like that. Sakura heard this and said, when we did the memory switch, she chased Naruto with a mask and a chainsaw and pulled out all kinds of weapons trying to get into Kyuubi's cage to make a fur coat and some accessories out of his claws. Shizune and Rina gradually retreated from IP3 and thought the same thing. Never under any circumstances do we tick off IP3. In fact, she can be scarier than Kyuubi at times. When they arrived at the bridge where Team 7 was supposed to meet at 7:45, Naruto and Sakura saw that Sasuke was already there. What amazed them was that he actually had emotions on his face, as if he was prepared to kill. Naruto stepped in front of Sakura and said, hey Sasuke, how you doing? Sasuke replied, I want answers. No. I am one of the strongest clans in this village. Why did two pitiful weaklings like you receive training from Sannin? You dead last are nothing compared to me, who is the strongest in our class. Sakura struck Naruto across the back of the head and said, Naruto-kun, I thank you for standing up for me, but I am more than strong enough to take care of myself against the all-powerful Uchiha. And then we come to your little, Naruto said with a great deal of killer intent, followed by the words, if you value your life I would choose your next words wisely. I don't care what you say about me or who your family is or was, but if you say anything negative about my wife I will be more than happy to show you how strong a dead last like me is compared to Rookie of the Year. In addition, we both know how to overcome his Sharingan, which is his only strength. He is nothing. Naruto was scanning the area when he spotted something, so he approached Sakura and muttered in her ear, Sakura, don't do anything just yet. We have a Kabuto snake on a rooftop 200 yards south of us. If you want to blow, you should only use 10 shadow clones each and pretend that your stamina is a bit higher than usual. You should also limit your strength. I'll jump in and make it look good if it involves blows so that your skill won't be noticed. Sakura grinned evilly and said aloud, I am going to have to teach you some modesty Naruto, I think you've been hanging with that pervert too much. Sakura became even more enraged and tried to throw Naruto off the bridge, but Naruto grabbed him by the back of his jacket and used chakra on his feet to hold on to the railing. He then grabbed Naruto's arm and used the momentum to flip him over the side of the bridge, but before he hit the water, Naruto was still holding on to him. Sasuke became even more enraged at this point and attempted to strike Naruto with his fist, but Naruto blocked the blow with the hand he was holding on to, causing him to fall into the water and get soaked. Kakashi then appeared and said, Sasuke, I hate to say it but Naruto was right, when you get out I want you to meet us at the Hokage office for missions. Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi then began to walk toward the Hokage tower, while Sasuke swam to the shore and bounded off toward the Uchiha compound. Kakashi asked, so tell me, was that really just flirting Naruto or was something up? After noticing they were out of sight of Sasuke, Naruto grinned and replied, we had an audience back there. The rooftop is 200 yards south of the bridge Kabuto. I was worried that we might fight and that he would have noticed our holding back because of his keen eye for detail. I hate to say it, but Sakura is a trump card, so I'm expected to be strange. Anyone who is unaware of what has transpired will underestimate her, which is a fatal error. Sakura said, Naruto, I know you don't like looking at me as a tool or something, so don't worry. There is a part of me that wishes I could kill that spy right now, but if I do that would tip the other snake and change history even more to the point where our knowledge would be useless. He is already spying for the snake, Kakashi said, because I realize that you and I are both trump cards for everyone to know. We must exercise extra caution in what we display. After giving it some thought, Naruto said, the only way to really kill him is to use up the majority of his chakra, seal it, and destroy every cell in his body. He has regenerative abilities and is a Junin level skill. Sakura and Kakashi paused to gaze at him as Naruto said, we are in serious trouble. Proficient medic Nin. Favorite choice of attacks are chakra scaples and poisons, unique bloodline ability. Kabuto's unique skill is his Nin info card, which allows him to instantly obtain all of your personal information when he hears your name and you are near him. In other words, someone says our names are out of the bag. I see, Kakashi said, and I guess there's nothing we can do about it. I need to discuss my idea with the Hokage to see if he approves of it. As they left, Naruto noticed that some of the people he usually encountered were not staring at him with the same venom, which he assumed was due to the new information that had been leaked about him. Let's get to the tower, he said. The Hokage had Ibiki with him when they arrived at the tower, and he instructed an ABNU to wait for Sasuke and warn him before he arrived. The Hokage then asked, so, how are things on the home front? Sakura and Naruto blushed a little, and Kakashi added, Naruto spotted Kabuto watching Sasuke this morning. I have an idea, but for it to work, I need your permission. Sakura said, Sasuke might be a problem on that one. I need you to call the rookie 9 and Jia's team the day before we have the first exams to tell them not to mention anyone's name during the first exam so that we might be able to counter Kabuto Nin info cards. Naruto grinned and remarked, I just got an idea, but my wife is going to kill me. If he discovers what they are capable of, he might attempt to learn what Naruto and I truly know. Sakura hit him over the head and said, okay, that was for suggesting it. I believe Sakura and I can demonstrate just enough skill to make him believe we are still inferior to him, but we will have to complete 4 or 5 D-rank missions every day, and I will have to act foolishly and do foolish things to give the impression that I'm trying to outdo Sakuke. The Hokage sighed, then flashed an evil grin that made everyone in the room say, I agree with your plan, Naruto. You get to hold the dang cat, but I think it is a good idea. It will give Sasuke a chance to think we are not worth his time. Ibidi smiled and remarked, in my eyes, you are also. Kakashi's face soared. I don't care if it's a secret right now, or if the village has an issue with it. To me, the Godiami Tsunade, Jiraiya, you are already Rokudame Hokage Naruto. Sakura kissed him on the cheek and Kakashi said, I think I missed more than I first thought, after he stood up again. If I am still in service when you come to office, I will follow your orders. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, I believe that everyone in this office 8 is aware of this. How are things going for Zabuza and Haku? The third grinned and said, they're doing great. Haku has been working at the hospital and teaching our missing nin tracers his tricks, and Zabuza has been teaching Chunins how to use water and swords. Then there was a knock on the door, and the Hokage said, enter. An ABNU then claimed that Sasuke Uchiha has arrived and departed. Now that everyone is here, here are your missions for the day, the third said as Sasuke entered a short while later. I've chosen to give you 4 missions today because your special training program hasn't given you many opportunities to work as a team. Painting the Fire Lord's house white is the first mission. The second mission is to capture the Fire Lord's wife's cat, which is wearing a red bow around its neck. The third mission is to sort through all of the weapons in the Wolfclaw Weapon Shop's training area and put them in the appropriate scrolls. Watching my grandson and his 2 friends from 3 to 6 p.m. is the final task for some reason. It seems that their sensei must perform a bell test, that's all. When the Hokage brought up the summon test for Ebisu, Naruto laughed and yelled, alright. Missions time. Sakura shook her head and glared at him, while Kakashi, the Hokage, and Ibiki all grinned and agreed that he is a pretty good actor. Sasuke said, I think we should split the missions up, and Kakashi said, okay, I want to know what mission you think we should do first. They had just left the Hokage Tower. That way, we can finish the first 3 before someone has to do the last one. Kakashi shook his head and said, no, since these missions are team-based, we complete them collectively. Sakura stated, given that painting the house will take the longest, I believe we should do it first. After taking a photo of the cat while we're there, proceed to the weapon shop. Last but not least, the final mission Naruto declared. I agree with her. Sasuke responded. Of course you would. Your little winch had already gotten you whipped. Kakashi had to stop Sakura and Naruto from killing Sasuke. And he finally threatened to give all of you 1,000 years of pain if you didn't stop trying to kill each other. At that point, the fighting stopped, and Kakashi declared, "I also agree with Sakura, it is a good plan. Let's go." When they arrived at the Wolfclaw weapon shop, Naruto entered first, and as Sakura began to say something like, "Hello. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, we were told we had a mission here to clean up some weapons," Naruto interrupted her. Sakura had to take breaks while Naruto created 20 clones, and they kept falling off the ladders while they were painting the house. "My new teammate Sasuke over here thinks he's the leader, so I thought I'd introduce myself first." Tenten realizes what she thinks is wrong with Sasuke, so she says, "Hello, I'm Tenten. Yes, that mission is here. I'll show you 2 Gias where the weapons are and you can help me get the scrolls real quick, miss." Sakura responds, Sakura Uzumaki, the blonde here is my new husband, and I would like that a lot." Tenten shows Naruto and Sasuke the weapons and instructs them to separate them into 3 piles, shuriken, kuniyas, and everything else. She then leads Sakura to the storage room and says, "Okay, what's up?" Sakura responds, "Thanks for playing along. We are trying to show Sasuke that Naruto and I are weaker than him so that he won't ask for information about us and warns the snake about our threat. To maintain appearance, we must perform 4 or 5 D ranks every day. Additionally, Sasuke is being a complete pain in the ass. In front of Naruto, he actually had the audacity to call me a winch. There won't be anything left after one more remark like that, so I don't think we'll have to worry about the snake catching him. Could you please do me a favor? While the others use senbons, our new ally in town wields a special sword." Tenten nodded, and they both rejoined the Gias. Sakura said, "The tall one is named Zabuza. You can't miss him with his 7-foot-long sword, and the other is Haku. He may look like a girl but he is a boy." Tenten said, "Sure, tell me who they are." When they were almost finished, Tenten became tired of the way Sasuke was making fun of Naruto and Sakura, so she took out 4 kuniya and tied chakra strings to them. She threw them all at once, and they wrapped around Sasuke, tying him up. "This is my family place of business and I am also the one paying for this mission. If I hear your disrespectable comments one more time, I will be more than glad to use all these weapon scrolls on you." She turned around and grinned at Sakura and Naruto before leaving, saying, "Please stop talking. I can finish all 6,000 of these weapons in less than 2 minutes, so please stop." Sasuke turned to Kakashi and said, "Untie me now." Kakashi did not even look up from his book when he said, "Sorry, I am just observing in the teamwork right now. If you want someone to untie you, I guess you better ask your teammates." 45 minutes later, Sasuke is still tied up on the floor and Sakura and Naruto just finished the mission of putting all the weapons away. When Tenten walks in, Kakashi says, "Mission complete, but Sasuke here will not be getting paid for this mission because of his unwillingness to work as a team, so 1/3 of the cost will come back to you in a few days." Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi start to leave and Sasuke is still tied up. He looks at Tenten and says, "Untie me now, you pathetic winch." Everyone stops dead in theater tracks and looks at Sasuke, then looks at Tenten, then Sasuke, then Tenten. Then Tenten pulled out 2 scrolls, did a couple of hand signs and said, "Dual Dragon Weapon Scroll Summoning." Suddenly she jumps in the air and the 2 scrolls wrap around her and she starts throwing the weapons as fast as they appear at Sasuke. They completely surround his body but never cut him. Tenten the lands and starts to walk away. Sasuke says, "You missed." Tenten threw one last kuniya while still walking away without looking back and said, "I never miss," as the kuniya cuts the chakra strings holding Sasuke to the ground. When Sasuke stands up, he says, "What you looking at?" He then starts to walk and all of his clothes and most of his hair falls off. Sakura said, "Well, I guess I can tell Ino you wear boxers no." As she laughs at him, he is standing there in a pair of boxers with the Uchiha fan on the front and back and his hair looks like he is in boot camp, very short. "You have 20 minutes to get some clothes and meet us at the academy to pick up our last mission. If you are late, you won't be paid if you don't show up at all. You will pay Sakura and Naruto the pay of an A-rank mission. Now go," Kakashi says. Glancing at his watch, Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi then left Sasuke and headed to the museum. Naruto said, "I will run on ahead to get them while you wait on Sasuke. I used to have a pretty good friendship with him. I would like to start Aegean." The other 2 nodded, and Naruto began to leave the academy when he noticed a square box that was designed to look like the ground. Shaking his head back and forth, Naruto placed his hand on it. After that, he moved to stand in front of the box. It halted and attempted to pass him, but he blocked it once more. Kakashi said, "Naruto, don't you think you should go get the client?" Naruto grinned and said, "Kakashi, let me introduce you to the Konohamaru Corp. At that moment, the square box exploded, and 3 children began coughing from the smoke. One of them said, I think we used too much gunpowder Aegean. Naruto put on a henge to make himself look like the third Hokage, saying in the third person, Konohamaru, how many times must I tell you there is no such things as square rocks? Konohamaru became irate and began to attack Naruto in his henge, saying, Grandfather, today I will beat you for sure and become the next Hoka. He tripped over his long scarf and fell while charging Naruto. Naruto began to laugh and roll around on the ground. When Naruto abruptly removed the henge and revealed his true self, Konohamaru got to his feet and turned to face his grandfather. After he finally stood up, Konohamaru looked confused and then said, You tripped me. Do you know who I am? I will make you suffer because I am the grandson of the Hokage. Naruto walked up to him and hit him on the head and said, I don't care who you are. You want to be Hokage someday because you want people to see you for you not the honorable grandson. I also know your teacher Ebisu says that the only way you can be Hokage is if you listen to him and he will show you all the shortcuts to get there quick. I will tell you this, to become the Hokage there are no shortcuts, you have to train and become strong, earn the respect of everyone you can but be true to yourself, and also you have to protect those that are precious to you even if it costs you your life. That is the only way to become Hokage. I will make you a deal. I will show you 2 jutsu that will save your friend's life someday if you want to learn it. If you can learn those 2 just you and prove to me by not only defeating me but proving to me that you are an honorable man and will do whatever it takes to protect your precious people, I will say that you have what it takes to become Hokage someday. Now as for right now, we are here to watch you as our mission, but I think you would like a chance to become strong, so how would you like to learn a way to become stronger? Konohamaru looked at Naruto and said, Okay, from this day forward you are our boss, so what are the 2 jutsu you will be teaching me? Naruto smiled and looked at Kakashi and Sakura and said, The first one is a secret jutsu that to the man who invented 3 years to create. Only 3 people in the world have ever been able to do it. I am one of those 3, it is called Rasengan. At this point Naruto formed a Rasengan in his right hand, walked over to a tree and shoved it into the tree, completely destroying it. He then walked back over and said, I will teach you that jutsu after you get a little more chakra control. The next jutsu is easier but you have to learn how to do shadow clones first. I will teach that one also so you can learn my own original jutsu. Sakura looked at Naruto and rolled up her sleeve and said, You are not teaching him that perverted jutsu. Naruto walked over to Sakura and whispered, He will learn it so he can save someone precious to him someday. Remember who he was dating before we left on our retrieval mission with Sasuke. Sakura thought about it and said, I still don't like the idea of him using that jutsu, it is degrading to women. Naruto thought for a moment and got a smile and said, Konohamaru, before you learn the second jutsu sexy no jutsu you will learn after you learn shadow clone jutsu and after my wife here teaches you respect for women and sexual education. Sakura got an evil smile that made everyone pale at that and said, Naruto-kun, I will agree to that as long as you don't teach him that jutsu before I finish my lesson. Naruto smiled and said, Kakashi-sensei, if it's alright with you I think we could get some practice at the same time we are finishing the mission, tree climbing exercise. Kakashi chuckled and said, Okay, that will work, let's go to Team 7 training ground and work on that. The third was looking into his crystal ball and said, So it appears that you already have plans for the 7th Hokage, huh Naruto? Naruto created a shadow clone and left it here for Sasuke so he would know where to meet us. He then bursts into laughter. If you believe my grandson deserves the title when he is old enough, I trust your judgment, but please don't teach him that jutsu until I step down. I hate to imagine what my life will be like then. Kakashi, who had already learned how to do it, was not impressed when he saw Sakura and Naruto performing pull-ups while hanging from a tree with both hands on the underside of the tree branch attached by chakra. When he arrived at the Team 7 training ground, he asked, Hey Dobi, what do you think you're doing? But Naruto didn't even look at him when he said, Chakra control exercise number 4. Why? Sasuke looked mad and said, Well, if that's number 4, what are the others? Naruto chuckled and said, Well, 1 is tree walking with your feet, 2 is water walking, 3 is fire walking but only if you do that one because of the risk of burns, 4 is tree walking with your hands, 5 is air running, 6 is water walking on hands, 7 is fire walking on hands, 8 is air walking, and 9 is air walking on your hands. Sasuke was getting mad and said, Yeah right, there is no way you can do half of those Dobi, you are just trying to make yourself sound good. Naruto let go of the tree he was on and landed on his feet and said, Ask me to do any of those and I will demonstrate. If you want me to show you how to do them, then all you have to do is ask. Sasuke smiled and said, "Okay, idiot. You want to show everyone you're a liar. Do the hardest one, air walking on your hands." Naruto smiled and said, "Deal, Sasuke. I will show you there are no shortcuts to power. The only way you can truly get strong is if you are protecting someone precious and hard work." Naruto then walked up the tree he was in earlier. When he got to the tallest branch, he stood on his hands and closed his eyes for a moment in concentration. He then stuck one hand on empty air and then the other and slowly walked by his hands nearly 20 feet from the tree. He then started walking a circle, slowly getting lower each time he placed his hands on the air. He did that all the way until he was about 3 feet of the ground and Sasuke charged him, kicking Naruto in the gut. Naruto flipped in midair, gathered chakra to his feet to air run and used the momentum of his air running to charge Sasuke, hitting him in the jaw and knocking him into a tree. Naruto looked at Sasuke and shook his head. Sakura ran to Naruto and asked, "Are you okay, Naruto-kun?" He nodded yes and said, "I am alright, but I think I might have broke his jaw." Naruto then fainted from chakra exhaustion. Sakura checked him and found he was only using his normal chakra, so that was why he fainted. The 3 kids ran over and Konohamaru said, "Boss was awesome, but is he going to be okay?" Sakura smiled and said, "Yeah, he will be fine in about 10 or 15 minutes. The reason air walking on your hands is so hard, you have to use a lot of chakra to do it. Naruto is capable of doing it to a level that only about 20 people in the entire world could." She then went over and checked on Sasuke, who had a broken jaw that Sakura had healed, leaving it sore for a few days. When he woke up, he saw Naruto lying on the ground and said, "What an idiot, can't take a hit." Sakura then became enraged and struck him in the head, knocking him out. She checked him to make sure she hadn't broken anything, and then she walked back over to Naruto and told the children, "Okay, I want you all to learn a lesson from what you just saw. Teamwork is important. If you have someone like Sasuke over there on your team and who does not look out for his or her teammates, chances are that if that person gets into trouble, no one will try to help them. 3 genins can defeat a Sannin if they are strong enough and cooperate. One person can only be so strong, but if you work as a team, you can overcome nearly anything." The 3 children nodded, and Kakashi said, "I learned a painful lesson the day I became a Junin. Those who fail a mission are trash, but those who don't look out for their friends are worse than trash. Remember those words and live by them and you will become strong enough to perhaps be Hokage someday." At that moment, they heard applause, and the 3rd Hokage came up and said, "I see you are showing my grandson and his friends the true meaning of being a team and the true test of being a ninja, Konohamaru. I want you to know that if you try to follow Naruto here, you may prove to be a Hokage someday." As he mentioned, only 3 people in the world have ever learned how to use the Rasengan technique that Naruto is going to teach you. The first is Naruto himself, followed by Jiraiya, my own student, and Naruto's father, who invented it. His dad was the 4th, the 3 children exclaimed, looking at Naruto. The Yondaime Hokage nodded and said, "Well, Kakashi, I take it all your missions were successes." Kakashi responded, "Yes, but Sasuke won't be paid for the weapon shop or this one because of his disrespect and failure to follow orders. Also, I told the weapon shop that they would receive his cut of the payback for his disrespect. Additionally, although Naruto has listed 9 distinct chakra control exercises, I am only proficient in 3 of them." The Hokage nodded and said, "Good night, Kakashi. I will make sure that all of the payments are deposited into the appropriate accounts." It might not be a bad idea for him to instruct the next generation on how to do some of the others so that they can become even stronger. Additionally, you could educate the Uchiha about Naruto's family and his burden until tomorrow. He then departed with the 3 kids, and Sakura and Naruto went home while Kakashi promised to wait for Sasuke to wake up so they could have a brief conversation.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.